Welcome on into the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. Wow, we have quite a stream with you today, chat. The vibe shift is in. I realized something this weekend, chat. TikTok needs me. TikTok needs me. Their discourse is absolutely effing stupid. They need me. They need me really badly. Apparently no one has ever taught them that you could support both revolution and any electoral attempts that take place. Like, you don't have to pick one. You don't have to be like, I now believe that elections are going to give us socialism, or no, every election is worthless and pointless to care about. Like, that's not the only two choices, right? You know, you can do both, right? Or you can care about both, right? You can be pro revolution and, if reform happens, support it. Like, you don't have to pick. You're not wrong. If you believe that it's ultimately going to take a revolution to achieve socialism and end capitalism, you can still support a bunch of people who are running for elected office to make the working class's lives better. You don't have to pick both in one. You don't have to be like, no, I am now a tainted reformist. No, you just use the excitement about socialist candidates to recruit people to read more about socialism. And then a lot of those people are going to realize, studying the social relations has convinced me that maybe we need to also prepare for a revolution. Like, you do not need to do like one or the other. It's fucking stupid. It's honestly embarrassing when people are like, Zohran is just going to be the same as if Trump won. And it's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. Doesn't mean that he's going to single-handedly dismantle capitalism. He's running for mayor of a single city. Like, we know that. But if he provides millions of working class people, you know, he reduces their rent, that is materially making their life better. They can go, wow, socialism based. It's not that complicated. Like, I don't know what, like, that's the thing that's blowing my mind. So I need to, like, make more posts. Also, the other thing I noticed is there's a lot of liberals that are like butthurt over Kamala, and they've been trapped in these discourse cycles of just being butthurt about Kamala. And I really need to help them break out of that shit. I hate Kamala Harris. I really do. I think she is probably the most disappointing politician of my life. I remember her in 2020. I remember people being like, well, maybe she could be the person that bridges the gap between progressivism and the mainstream. And I was very skeptical at the time, and I didn't like her, especially when she folded on Medicare for All, especially when she refused to, you know, she dipped her toe into calling out Joe Biden and then immediately folded and lost all her support. Like, I get it, man. Kamala Harris is really disappointing. The person you had in your mind is nothing like the person that actually exists. I get it. I think the reports coming out that vapes release a lot of lead explain Zoomer reactionary behavior. Is that true? Oh, no. And what Zohran is proving, and this is what's so unbelievably based, awesome, cool, we love to see it, is that you don't have to. You do not have to be a piece of shit. You don't have to be a piece of shit. You don't have to be a scumbag. You could be someone who speaks the truth and people like it. And this is what Democrats are mad about. This is what Democrats are mad about, because a lot of Democrats don't want you to be able to succeed like that because it means they sold out and they're a piece of shit. So they want to prove that their selling out wasn't bad. It was necessary. And so when you see someone who's not a sellout succeed, there is this tremendous pressure in your mind to figure out why they're actually bad and undermine them to make it, you know, to give yourself permission to not feel like a total scumbag, which you are. I've been calling liberal TikToker people who hide their zombie bites in their comment sections. It's so funny. Your best analogy so far. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mike, did you see any news on the shooting in Idaho? Firefighters were getting sniped while trying to respond to a brush fire. I vaguely heard about that story, but I didn't even... Mate, what we thought Bernie and AOC could do Zohran existing is actually doing it. Sure, the Dems had to show it's failing over the past 8 years, but this was the goal. Akeem leads a party 27% approval. It's happening. Here's my general feeling. I wish that Bernie had started a third party. I wish Bernie had started a third party. If he had, we would be living in a totally different country. But he was a bitch. And so that's that. We're living in a different world, and that's fine. That's totally fine. It really is totally fine. However, And I personally want to have a workers' party. You know, I want a workers' party. But the other reality is America's system operates in a really weird way that heavily incentivizes two parties, to the point where if you really want to compete for real power, you have to be one of the largest parties, or else the math just doesn't work. You know, you need to be able to get that majority of electoral votes, which means you need to win first past the posted elections in 270 electoral votes worth of states. And so I understand why people are like, I don't think that could work. I don't think that could happen. I don't think that we could do that without, you know, being in one of the big parties. Personally, I don't think the Democratic Party is worth the trouble. Like, if you look at the effort that Zohran has, if we had effort like that in all 50 states, if we just copied that level of effort in all 50 states, we wouldn't need the Democratic Party. You know what I mean? Like 50,000 volunteers can get you on the ballot in a state, like, easily. You don't need, like, you do not need if you have this level of engagement, you don't need the Democratic Party. And the reason why I've said this is, and I'm being proven right again, the reason why I don't support vote blue no matter who is because I learned in 2018, in 2016, that vote blue no matter who only goes one way. Vote blue no matter who only goes one way. Centrist Democrats do not vote blue no matter who. Now, I'm not talking about Democratic voters, okay? Democratic voters are not necessarily the same thing. But centrist Democratic, especially their politicians, they do not believe in vote blue no matter who. I mean, Schumer and Jeffries are not even endorsing, and they live in the city. And when Eric Adams won, Donald Trump's fucking footstool, Gillibrand, Schumer, they were out to endorse within the day. Even though there's a lot to disagree with Giannis, he nailed it when he said leftists and politics should be afraid to express even deeply unpopular opinions, because with the vibe shift, we'll be standing proud with our integrity intact. Will also be a poll to which people can gravitate who think alike us, even marginally can gravitate. Well, that's the thing. You have to do both. I made a TikTok yesterday. I made a couple TikToks, chat. So let me show you the TikToks that I made over the past couple days. I think I may be a pretty good TikToker, chat. I'm starting to get it. So if you want more Mike from PA content, you're gonna need to be there on the Tickety Talk. And here's my link. I want to get to 10K followers by the end of maybe by the end of July. Is that a reasonable goal? I don't know. And the thing about this is I think I'm not that bad at it, actually. Or you can also watch, I'll be posting these on my YouTube as well. All right, let's self-suck. Anyway, Slurp. Let's take a look at what I posted over this past couple days, and I'll show you as a framework for what I'm going to say in a longer form here.
The left needs to learn how to dog whistle. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. In New York City, Zohran Mamdani won.
I said Mamdani again.
New York City mayor.
Mamdani, Mike.
Mayoral primary because he was able to dog whistle and use euphemisms and to phrase his point of view in a way that was acceptable to the uninitiated. So much of the conversation on the left in this country involves having a panoply of terms you need to learn. It's completely impenetrable to regular people and is not phrased in a way that is actually appealing to those that are not already part of the club. Stop treating your leftism like a club and start treating it like you're supposed to be, which is an organizing opportunity. And right now, I don't care if you are a revolutionary leftist, a communist, or whatever. If you do not look at what's happening in New York City and think that this is a win for our movement, you are wrong. And the reason why you're wrong is because Zohran is demonstrating to everybody in an undeniable fashion that you do not need to kowtow to Israel. You do not need to shade your opinion on Israel, and you will be a successful person in politics. And this is what is going to give space for the change that we need. If you actually care about ending the unbelievable crimes that are happening in Palestine, the number one thing you need to do as an American is to get our political class to withdraw the support that the IDF and Israel depends upon. Grow up, be smarter, learn what a euphemism is, learn what a dog whistle is, and take a W. The left needs...
Now, and okay, so Number one, this is why I support Zohran. Because he does this. He fucking does this. Look at this video that just popped up recently on the Deprogram subreddit.
About this entire project, it's not simply to raise class consciousness.
Why call it dog whistling and euphemisms when it's just putting leftism in common sense language? Because leftists, like when you say things in a really annoying and direct way that's very challenging. So I was doing their shit to them. Instead of going like, no, come on, we have to do it. We have to like make sure we're speaking in good optics. That's what liberals sound like. So I don't talk like that. I say, we need to do dog whistles. We need to hide our power level, because it's the same thing, but it sounds transgressive. Therefore, the leftist will like it. Because when you say stuff like optics and messaging, people hear, ew, liberal. But if you're like, we got to do dog whistles and euphemisms, they're like, based. It's called knowing your audience, chat.
About this entire project, it's not simply to raise class consciousness, but to win socialism. And obviously raising class consciousness is a critical part of that. But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing to put that forward at every which moment that they have, at every which opportunity that they're given. We have to continue to elect more socialists. And we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right, or whether it's the end goal of ceasing the means of production, where we do not have the same level of support at this very moment. And what I want to say is that it is critical that in the way that we organize, in the way that we set up our work and our priorities, that we do not leave any one issue for the other, that we do not meet a moment and only look at what people are ready for, but that we are doing both of these things in tandem, because it is critical for us to both meet people where they're at and to also organize for what is correct and for what is right, and to ensure that over time we can bring people to that issue. The ramifications of victory here is the difference between life and death for so many of our brothers, sisters, and family beyond the binary across this borough of Queens. It's the difference between having cash bail anymore or not. It's the difference between having sex work be decriminalized and not. And with every battle that we fight as socialists, we need to remember what the stakes are and ground ourselves in them, and why those stakes are important and critical to us as individuals.
And here's the reality, and I think that this is a very important point that everybody needs to acknowledge if you're going to talk about politics, which is that a lot of people got into socialism because of Bernard Sanders. Or you're a person who is very young and you came into socialism when that was already a fair topic of conversation. It was already a part of the political discussion. You know, like, you are somebody who exists post Bernie Sanders. As somebody who was in politics before Bernie Sanders, I want to tell you that socialism as a concept in the United States before Bernie Sanders came out and said, I'm a democratic socialist, it was dead. It was fucking dead. And yes, a lot of people point to DSA growing tremendously with Bernie Sanders and AOC's electoral wins, and that's very, very true. But do you know who else grew tremendously because of them? PSL, other communist parties. Because people, once they get brought in, that creates a pipeline. And this is what I kind of noticed about some of the like left-wing people on TikTok, is they hate the idea of a left-wing pipeline. They hate the idea of having a wide end of the funnel where people come into these ideas, they're taught they're not that scary, they learn about them in a supportive way, they have actual electoral projects which attract the broad swath of the people because they seem practical and like they might actually achieve something now. And then once people come into it, they can start to examine capitalism and socialism with a critical eye, and they can start down the path to more radical forms of politics. That's why I am what I am going to term a hybrid Marxist, because the traditional term sucks. So I'm calling it hybrid Marxism. What is hybrid Marxism? Hybrid Marxism is somebody who does both. I support revolutionary socialism. I believe that it may take a revolution to finally overturn capitalism. I do not consider that to be a crazy position. I think that is a totally reasonable position. However, revolution is a material process that exists in reality with actual flesh and blood human beings firing actual guns with actual bullets or whatever. It is, revolutions are about building armies. Armies require logistics. It's a very brutally practical idea. It's not a book idea. All right. It is a practical idea. And so for my revolutionary socialism, I believe in a revolution that exists, not a revolution that exists in your mind. I think that's taking revolutionary socialism and turning it back into liberal idealism. And this is the hybrid part. I recognize the utility of electoral politics in heightening the contradictions, in recruiting the masses, and to win occasionally reforms which will make the working class even stronger. So I believe in both. Hybrid Marxist. I am not, you could do both. You could do both. You don't have to choose. As long as in your mind you're thinking, I'm electing Zohran, but I don't expect him to successfully implement, socialism through voting. However, I'm achieving certain objectives, recruiting wise, rhetorically, politically, and materially on my path to a revolution. Then you can do both. You don't have to pick. You literally don't have to pick. And the other thing is, people will say stuff, and I want to refute. This is the point that I think makes the most sense, but is actually just wrong. And this happens sometimes in thought. Sometimes people believe things, and it makes intuitive sense, and then we try it out in the real world, and it turns out not to be a case. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. A lot of people are against raising the minimum wage because they think it costs jobs. Like, hey, if you raise the minimum wage, sure, some people are going to get paid more, but in general, it's going to result in less jobs. And so measuring it from society wide, all you're doing is actually making society worse off because you're going to have more unemployed people. That's what a lot of people think about minimum wage. And that was the predominant belief about minimum wage for the longest time. And then guess what happened? People actually implemented the minimum wage and they started measuring it. And in 2021, the Nobel Prize in Economics was given to economists who proved that minimum wage increases do not cost jobs. Actually, they may actually create jobs because you're redistributing money from shareholders and from owners to lower income people that have a higher marginal propensity to consume, and poor people tend to consume their money locally, which dries up local demand, which increases economic activity locally, which may actually create jobs, or at the very least does not cost jobs. And where did they study? Pennsylvania and New Jersey. New Jersey raised the minimum wage, Pennsylvania didn't. So on the border counties between Pennsylvania and New Jersey that are directly touching, they measured the jobs, and they expected to see jobs lost in New Jersey and gained in Pennsylvania. And guess what happened? Nothing. They didn't lose jobs. So you'd have a McDonald's that was in fucking Phillipsburg, New Jersey, which is directly over the Delaware, chat. It is the closest town to Pennsylvania. I mean, there are other stuff, but just using that. Phillipsburg, New Jersey, they didn't lose any jobs. Compared to Easton, they proved that the intuitive belief that you have that, raising the minimum wage is going to cost jobs is not true. And this is so for the longest. So people still believe this. If you raise the minimum wage, it's going to cost jobs, but it doesn't. It's been studied. It's been proven. And they've continued. Now, this is not just a quirk of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. They've continued to study this all over the place. And they found it just doesn't. There's Card and Kruger focused on employment in fast food restaurants, an industry where pay is low and minimum wages matter. Contrary to previous research, they found that an increase in the minimum wage had no effect on the number of employees. David Card arrived at the same conclusion in a couple of studies in the early 90s. The overall conclusion is that the negative effect of increasing the minimum wage is small, significantly smaller than it was believed 30 years ago. So why am I bringing this up? Because people have this, especially on the left, they have this intuitive belief. The Zohran is absorbing energy. See, there's all this energy out for socialist change. And when you run an electoral platform or electoral socialism, you are absorbing energy that could be going to revolutionary leftists. And that's wrong. In fact, it's the opposite. Electoral leftism that is successful, like Zohran, actually increases the energy for revolutionary socialism. It doesn't decrease it. It increases it. Because it's like saying recruiting people into basic training reduces the number of people that are going to be commandos. And it's like, no, it's a process. In order to have a commando, in order to have that Navy SEAL or whatever the fuck, or Spetsnaz, you need to have somebody be trained through basic training before they then have the skills where they can then upskill to become even more powerful. That's the process that is actually happening. Zohran is not hurting revolutionary socialism. He's helping it. He's recruiting people into socialism, and then those people will flow. You're just dead wrong. Like that argument that electoral politics is actually hurting revolutionary socialism is dead wrong. Dead fucking wrong. And that's why I don't consider myself just a revolutionary socialist. Why I consider myself a hybrid socialist. Somebody who does both believes in revolution, but also engages in electoral politics. It's why I don't abandon electoral politics. Because in my experience, and I've seen it in my own life, when there is a successful left-wing candidates and politics, it attracts more people to the left, all the left, all the left. It creates a funnel to the left. And I think a lot of people look at Bernie Sanders as being defeated in the primaries and go, see, we can't ever win. It's impossible. It's rigged. And that's not true. That is not true. Bernie Sanders just didn't have the right conditions to win. And part of those conditions he didn't have was enough people who were okay with the idea of socialism, who were okay with the idea of there was not enough people in the Democratic Party and on the left in general who were willing to entertain his ideas. The country wasn't ready yet. And I think to give you an historical analogy to my electoral heads, by political heads, by history heads. Barry Goldwater was this right-wing libertarian freak candidate who ran against LBJ, and he got absolutely tattooed. He got absolutely destroyed. LBJ, I think, won the biggest victory in history against Barry Goldwater. Now, did conservative ideologues and fascists look at Barry Goldwater losing and then go, oh, we'll never win. Oh, no. Oh, the Great Society is inevitable. Oh, social democracy in America, we can't beat it. It's too strong. No, they eventually got Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan ended up winning off of basically the same ideas as Barry Goldwater. But Barry Goldwater had created the activists, he had created the funnel, created the space for the radical right. And then eventually it was paid off with Ronald Reagan and everything that's made this country worse. The entire movement of neoliberalism comes from that victory with Ronald Reagan. And so I say Bernie Sanders is our Barry Goldwater. He's the guy who revived these ideas. He's the guy who started to build up socialism as an idea. And Bernie Sanders isn't perfect. And we're going to go beyond Bernie Sanders. We're going to be better than Bernie Sanders. The Bernie Sanders movement created the space that we all now currently exist in and that we are expanding beyond. I see someone else made a point that I want to directly address. They said, it also breeds complacency in the people staving off revolution. Yes. I mean, it exposes our enemies. How many times have you seen leftists or progressives going like, oh, Big Gretch and oh my God, I love Andy Bashir. And oh guys, don't you guys love John Ossoff? And the people are just fucking stupid and they're promoting all these right-wing Democrats. Zohran is going to expose those people as frauds. And it's going to clear up some confusion about where people really stand. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you don't have to pick. You don't have to pick between revolutionary socialism and reformism. You literally don't. You could sit here where I do as a hybrid socialist and say, I see a bunch of regular people getting really excited for this, social democrat candidate. I'm going to support that and hype it up so I get whatever concessions we could get, whether it's anti-imperialism that Zohran supports, or increasing the power of the working class, or helping trade unionism, or building up the power of the working class, right? I'll give you another example of what I'm talking about. Sean Fain, the leader of the UAW, is trying to convince every union to have their contracts expire May 1st, 2028. He's trying to create a synthetic general strike for May 1st, 2028. He's only able to do that because he's in a trade union. And that hopefully is going to create class consciousness. And it's going to help the trade union movement grow tremendously and exercise its power tremendously together. So he's operating within the law, within American legal systems, to create a general strike, something that our system is designed to oppose. And he's doing it through cooperation and subtlety and actually using his power in a class conscious way. That's going to give us so much more authority, so much more power in the future. It would have been a major mistake not to try to seize UAW to socialists, which we did. I'm not saying that reformism is going to deliver socialism. I'm saying it's not. What I am saying is you're thinking this as a reformism versus revolution. You're repeating the arguments of 1918. Guys, it's not 1918 anymore. We have different conditions. We are not reformism versus revolution. We are, how do we build the left? How do we create a socialist movement? We don't have one. We don't have the masses. We've got to seize their attention. So I'm going to plant the flag for hybrid socialism, sometimes called centrist Marxism, which I hate that fucking name because everyone hates centrists. But I'm saying you don't have to choose. This is the W centrism. You don't have to choose between revolution and reform. You could literally just do both. You could literally say, I don't think that we're going to achieve socialism through electoralism. However, it creates the conditions to build up the power of socialism and socialists so that we can achieve the point in society where revolution will become inevitable. And by doing this electoral work, we are talking to the masses and we are recruiting people in and we are creating the wide end of the funnel so that more radical forms of socialism could grow and expand. That's the whole fucking ball game. No, I don't give a shit about this. 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 I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I legitimately don't care. This is dumb as fuck. I literally thought it was both the whole time. I am dumb. No, you are smart. You are smart. You are smart. There are people online who try to say that you can't do, it's pointless to care about electoral politics. And I think they're just posturing. And I think or they never heard what I just said.
Just like a lot of film critics are actually critics, they're just cynical shells of human beings that have forgotten how to have fun. A lot of the leftist activists on this app in particular are not activists. They're just people so wrapped up in theory they can't stand to live in reality anymore. Because it's easy to say that Zohran Mamdani and Donald Trump uphold the same systems when you are so hyper-focused on shortcomings that you refuse to acknowledge any progress whatsoever, because you would rather the world burn than take an imperfect step forward. Perpetual pessimism is not progress, it's just masturbatory.
By the way, guys, I don't even really like this argument style. I think that I don't even really like this argument style, and I'll tell you why. Because I know why people become fixated on the theoretical idea of a revolution. It's because they've suffered failure in the past and they're afraid to be hurt again. They're afraid to trust again. They're afraid to believe again. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. So I don't really I don't like this strategy because I think it just ends up aping a lot of the liberal conversations. And I don't want to have that. I don't want to make this argument. This is a liberal sounding argument. I want to talk in the way that I just did, which is you don't have to choose. In fact, use these opportunities, these electoral victories of Zohran as a recruiting tool for revolutionary movements and more radical forms of politics. But if you want people to join you, you've got to be showing up. You have to be in the spaces that they're in. You have to be organizing the people. You have to be a leader. You need to be charismatic. You need to show, hey, I'm with you. I'm in the trenches. When people are striking because they want something, you need to show up and be supporting their goals. And so when they win that contract, you say, see, look at the power that we hold as a class. We can demand more. That is how you build these movements. You're not going to build this movement standing back with a book in your hand, like a fucking Jehovah's Witness, preaching your utopic vision when the revolution occurs. Revolution should be part of a process, the culmination of class consciousness building, the culmination of victory after victory and demand after demand. It will not spring like Zeus from the head of a titan. All right. It requires effort and slow grinding progress. And when you fight a revolution, I regret to inform you, it's a bad time. Millions of Chinese Communist Party members gave their lives. I think it was 6 million people, if I go back and look. Or 6 million Chinese communists had to give their lives to win the revolution in China. It is not some sort of walk in the park. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Zohran has been doing the rounds this weekend, doing a whole bunch of interviews, chat, and it's been absolutely fucking based. Before we go on, I want to shake my head, chat, because I can't believe what happened at the Glastonbury Music Festival. I'm shaking my head. I'm shaking my head because the BBC did not want to show a political band. So they blacklisted them from BBC live coverage, and they showed a different. It was Kneecap. Yes, that's correct. They showed a different band instead.
York chanting. They didn't say death to Palestinian military forces. They said death to Arabs. They are lying about what Bob Vylan said at Glastonbury. Death to the IDF.
Okay, I need to find the actual clip. God damn it, I thought this had it. Honestly, it's been going mega viral on TikTok, chat. U.S. Zionist, free Palestine makes me uncomfortable. Chat, if you think this is going too far, peepo smile in the chat and shake your head. Guys, this is mean. You know, I said the vibe shift like 6 weeks ago. Remember when I called it and I was like, yeah, this is the vibe shift. Everybody was all depresso and people were crying to me, Mike, I'm so depressed. Boo-hoo. Remember that? And you know what I said? What's up, Open Presence? You know what I said? The vibes are shifting, guys. The vibes are, wow. Gosh, I guess Kneecap is representing a feeling that is a little bit more deep. Oh man, holy shit. Also, chat, I forgot to mention this. Apparently Asmongold was watching me or something and malding because I got another, I don't know, I made some tweet about him that got 10k likes. I honestly don't even remember, and he was malding and he's like, he said like, oh, I'm gonna show them, maybe they're saying I do this thing, but maybe I'll show them, but maybe I won't, maybe I will. He did some like very pussy shit that he does. Because we made Asmongold bend the knee once. Remember that, chat? Where he got banned for 2 weeks for calling for the genocide of Palestinians, and he had to apologize. He got on his knees and he apologized. Remember that? You guys remember how he folded and bent the knee and he apologized? That it was really, really, really groveling. He even cleaned his fucking room. You guys remember that? I'm going to help you clean your room, Asmongold. I'm going to keep helping you clean that room. You're going to have a nice room. Asmongold, I've got a content creator for you. I think you should check out. I think she might help you. How long did it actually take? I think you should watch this woman. She's really good. She posts these TikToks and it's like, how long does it actually take to like clean up stuff? Here, I'll show you, Asmongold. I think you should subscribe. She's pretty cool.
Hello. Here are 3 things I've learned from other people that makes.
No, this is not it. Hold on.
Welcome to another segment of How Long Does It Actually Take, where I see how long it actually takes me to do something that I've been procrastinating. Today, we have this office room. Look like this for the past 5 months. My friends are coming over in approximately 45 minutes, so let's see how much I can get done. And also, how long does it actually take?
Out the trash. This is a vacuum, Asmongold.
Total time it took me to clean this entire room that I've been procrastinating for 5 months took me 41 minutes. Thank you for watching.
Now, it might take you longer than 41 minutes, Asmongold. It might take you more than 41 minutes. You know, just do it. Just do it. Just start right now. Just say, I'm gonna throw away all the trash in my room. It might take you a couple hours, but it's not that bad. Put something on your fucking monitor, you know? Hop in a Discord call with somebody. You know, you can do it, Asmongold. You can do it. This inspired me, but throw away all the trash in my room would take 3 days. Okay, just do a corner of the room. Not that hard. Just pick something that you can do and then work on it as long as you can. And then when you're done, you're done. But at least you made progress. Just literally start now. It's not that big a deal. For me, I learned what it is for me. Body doubling. For me to do chores, body doubling. I have to feel like somebody else is there with me. That works. Sometimes just hopping into a Discord call or putting on a Twitch stream on my phone or cleaning, you know, getting somebody else to clean with me, instantly 1000% easier for me. Just a tip, Asmongold, if you need more parenting, I'll be here for you. I know you don't have both your parents anymore. So if you need more parenting, I can I could be your daddy for you to help you. Because it seems like you needed to get a spanking for not cleaning your room. So if you need, I can come give you that spanking, Asmongold, because you're a bad boy who won't clean his room. And then I'll make you take a shower and you'll wash behind your ears and you'll use shampoo on your head. I'll make you not a little stinky boy anymore. I think the main thing about Asmongold is you're not scary, man. You're not scary. You're a fucking disgusting slob who sits in your house all day in filth. You don't scare me. And I don't even think your fans really are that passionate about you. They just see your space as a space where they can get the worst parts out of themselves and have fun doing it. But they're not really like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying. It's a space they could exist without feeling like a piece of shit. They could be a piece of shit and not have and feel good about it. That's all your stream is, man. All right, let's move on to the next more annoying person. Oh, we have a hype train. Holy shit, we have a hype train. Thank you guys for starting the week out with a hype train. Remember, the top sub gifter and the top bit donor get those hype train conductor badges. The early morning hype trains are usually the best place to get those. I'm
absolutely stunned that the city that is famous for being terrorized by Islamic terrorists is on the cusp of electing Islamic extremists who was chanting globalized intifada as its mayor.
I'm gonna make a TikTok about my Lindy Lee story. I need to make a TikTok of my Lindy Lee story because goddamn is she the biggest fucking loser. It's so funny.
That for me is just jaw-dropping. This is 24 years after 9/11. And it just completely blows my mind that this is
I'm just curious, is there a day you wake up where you don't see terrorism everywhere? Because you literally just implied that this guy's a terrorist. And I found that bigoted, Islamophobic, and absolutely disgusting. If you don't like his policies, I can understand that. And we can have a discussion about those policies. But it seems like you just have a problem with the fact that he's Muslim. You have a problem with the fact that he looks a little different from other previous leaders. Don't interrupt me. I'm still speaking. I didn't interrupt you. Listen, the problem with that mayoral race is that the Democratic candidates who ran against him in the primary offered nothing. They offered nothing but the status quo. Andrew Cuomo was the former disgraced governor of that state who somehow thought that he had, I don't know, the entitlement to have his past erased and that people would totally accept him again. I'm really happy to find that the people of New York City rejected him because he's a complete and utter disaster. Now, as it pertains to Mamdani, we should actually talk about what he focused on as he was campaigning, because he actually did run a fantastic campaign. Even if you don't agree with his policies, he reached out to Trump voters in New York City and tried to figure out, hey, what is it that made you vote for Trump?
Oh, by the way, chat, that was... We actually watched that video. Zohran's talking to Trump voters. Hold on, let's see if we can find this. It's impossible to find things searching now. How is it possible that Google is this much worse? Jesus fucking Christ. It's crazy how Google is actually this much more of a dog shit.
Did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
I didn't vote.
And why did you not vote? Because I don't believe in the system anymore.
And did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
Yes.
And who did you vote for?
Trump.
The $1 million question. Trump.
Trump.
Donald Trump. Well, actually, early voted. I voted for Trump.
Honestly, I didn't vote.
She voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump.
Me too.
Before I voted Democrat. At this moment, I voted Donald Trump.
Hillside Avenue in Queens and Fordham Road in the Bronx are two areas that saw the biggest shift towards Trump in last week's election. Even more residents didn't vote at all.
They like Trump because they don't want the Palestinian, the brothers, they killed. The war in Ukraine, the Democrats giving all the money and the war. This is no good.
The swing is because people want lower prices. They probably believe that Trump would give them that.
Market price or
Energy, gas.
La comida. Food.
Most of these people are working families. They're working 1 to 2, 3 jobs, and rent is expensive. Foods are going up, utility bills are up.
And that's your hope, to see a little bit more of an affordable life?
Absolutely. What Trump did in the first 4 years, Fordham Road saw something where Kamala couldn't do that.
There were young voters who didn't vote for her because of the genocide, and I wouldn't have voted for her if I did, but I did vote for her, obviously, because I have common sense.
Can you tell me a little bit more about why you didn't vote?
Since you're out here, Gaza, who should I vote? Either side will go ahead, send bombs from here to kill my brothers and sisters.
Palestine issue, and then other issue is like Russia and then Ukraine. He stopped that war. That's why I voted him.
You can't say you're a Democrat.
I can't believe the Democrats have become the hawk party because they want, like, they're like, Jeb Bush gets fucking humiliated and the Democrats are like, we need to bring in Jeb Bush in the Democratic Party. The motherfucker has no support, you lunatics. Donald Trump got the posture as the peace candidate. This is crazy. This is crazy.
And stand for the genocide that's going on in Gaza. Period.
Practically, I like Democrat. I like Democrat, but I don't like this. Gaza, a lot of people are dying.
Have you voted for Democrats in the past?
I have.
And what would it take for you to vote for a Democrat in the future?
Being able to pay attention to the regular Americans and their economic needs.
They should make economics the forefront of their campaign. People were not really feeling it in their pocket.
I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I voted against Trump also in the 2018 midterms. Insulting us, playing on our emotions. All they do is shame you, and they just want to use like glitzy campaigns, and they get celebrities. And
like, if you're speaking the things that people want to hear about, I don't care what color you are, I'll vote for you.
We have a mayor's race coming up next year, and
Open presents with the 100 bomb. Let's fucking go. Open presents. Who is going to challenge open presents? Where are my Oilers at? You're going to let this person come in and just slap you guys around and take the #1 spot without a fight? You're going to be like, where's your pride? Just go in, you drop 101 subs, and open presents says, he got beat. Ben Shen, thank you for the 5. I think you're not quite there yet. All right, let's keep going.
If there was a candidate talking about freezing the rent, making buses free, making universal childcare a reality, are those things that you'd support?
absolutely, he'd have my vote all day.
We need childcare that is affordable. Buses should be free. The hike in the Metro cards is like totally unaffordable.
My name is Zohran Mamdani. I'm going to be running for mayor next year.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And I'm going to be running on that platform. Thank you.
I'm going to vote for you. Your energy is...
Thank you. My energy is getting up to inflation.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this was November 15th of last year.
Did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
I didn't.
Ladies and gentlemen. And so that brings me over to what I needed to show you from the TikTok I made yesterday. I made a TikTok yesterday,
Reduced
chat.
crime by 9.
Okay, dude. And I want you to see it.
There is no more.
Because if you think your vibes are good now, wait till you see these fucking vibes.
There is no more debate on how to beat Trump. Zohran Mamdani proved it. I'm about to show you the most important chart I've seen in politics all this year. And it answers the question that every single liberal leftist has been asking. How do we get young people more involved? How do we beat Trumpism? Look at this. There was an absolute wave of young people that finally showed up in the New York City mayoral election to elect Zohran. Look at these numbers. It's broken down in 5-year blocks, and you can see 18 to 24-year-olds were the largest group of voters.
Look at this, guys. Like, legitimately. So this is the 2021 mayoral Democratic primary. There were around like 40,000 people who voted who were 18 to 24-year-olds. This primary 120, 130, may even be more than triple. More than triple. Mike, will you be doing? I would love to talk to One Dime about this. The reality is that Bernie Sanders didn't lose by that much. I want to say this again. Bernie Sanders did not lose by that much. Bernie Sanders tried to achieve this, but he didn't quite get there. If you look at this, 18 to 24-year-olds are the largest group of voters. Second largest group of voters, 25 to 29-year-olds. Third largest group of voters, 30 to 34-year-olds. It's only then that we're getting the 35 to 39 is on the same level as 60 to 64. This was a generational sweep, and I actually think Zohran's got room to grow because a lot of the elder millennials, they agree with him. They're just not as much on TikTok, so they might not have been sucked in as much. TikTok and some of the short form social media that Zohran did so well in, that is actually something that is more indicative of younger generations. And so actually elder millennials are the most left-wing generation, period. So I actually think he's got room to grow from here. This is it was kind of a disappointment among elder millennials. They were a little bit better than they were in 2021, but not as much as the young people. This chart is fucking insane. They increased youth turnout by 300%. This is a mind-boggling number. Like, what? Huh? Like this doesn't even compute. I think people are in denial.
There were almost double as many 18 to 24-year-olds as there were 65 to 69-year-olds. This is a earthquake. We've never seen anything like this. And if you compare it to the 2021 Democratic primary for mayor in New York City, you can see that they almost tripled the number of young people, 18 to 24, who showed up. And this is an earthquake. It answers every question. If you want young people to turn out, if you want to make the Gen Z and millennial generation the generation that determines our politics, you have to run a bold, progressive, unapologetically pro-Palestine campaign. Zohran has proved it. It is showing right here that American politics is about to change as long as we have the candidates we deserve.
This is like mind-boggling. Like, this is like when people talk about increasing turnout, usually they talk about 10 to 20%. A 300% increase is insane. And if you're not already freaking out over seeing that, if you're not freaking out seeing that number, you literally do not understand elections. You do not This is unbelievable. This is make-believe. This is a dream. This is not just something that exists in a small space. Like, oh yeah, he increased youth turnout by 300%. He increased youth turnout by 300%. You should be freaking the fuck out. It's monumental. It's unbelievable. Like, this is the most hope core shit I've ever seen in my life. You're not reacting hard enough. You should be fucking running around the room screaming. This is so good. Most insane reaction on left foot. You don't give a fuck about homeless people, as made evidence by the use of them as abstract as a rhetorical tool. I hope that they gut you and play with your organs for fun. Shut the fuck up. Who taught you to speak to what? Suki's mom is actually kind of, I think they're, wait, what the fuck? Am I not following WAP Gob? Okay, Twitter's UI is just broken. Suki's mom is your brain on Settlers. Suki's mom is your brain on Settlers, which is why I had that crash out the other day when people were like, Mike, what do you think about Settlers? This is your brain on Settlers. Also, it's so funny that TYT got fucking owned. TYT fell for the bubble. TYT bought Trumpism at the high point. They bought Trumpism. It's like buying MILF coin at the peak. Those dumb fucking pieces of shit. And they crushed TYT because guess what? Nobody on the right bought their shit. Everybody on the left hates them now. Fucking dumbasses. All right. Zohran did a bunch of interviews and he went on Meet the Press, which, if you don't know what Meet the Press is, this is probably one of the most prestigious news talk shows from television. I don't think as many people watch TV anymore, so it's not that big a deal, but this is considered to be like the show. This is like, if you're in politics, this is like the equivalent of having a segment on Hassan's stream, all right? For a left-winger, all right? Like, this is the shit for TV, okay? This is like Hassan traveling to your city to campaign with you.
Welcome back. A stunning political upset this week in the race to lead America's biggest city. 33-year-old Democratic social...
Did I debate Benjamin? Not yet. I kind of am busy with my life, and I saw their dumb fucking posts, and it made me mauled, because I think there's this, like, and I also blame Chapo for this, but there is a certain type of person who is like, oh no, Bernie didn't win. Oh, we can never win. It's overdetermined. Oh, it's impossible to win anything. And it's like very sad and pathetic of a belief. We were not that far behind. We were pretty close twice. Bernie Sanders, I like him, but he wasn't that good. AOC has a lot of things to get better at. Zohran's going to help her get a lot fucking better. It's actually like Bernie Sanders' idea of getting young people to turn out at a higher rate actually is not a bad idea. His attitude of we should turn toward the apolitical is not a bad idea. He just wasn't able to pull it off all in one campaign. And the country wasn't quite at the point yet where it was ready to absorb his ideas. We needed to fully discredit centrism. The Joe Biden presidency probably needed to happen. The Keir Starmer prime ministership probably needed to happen. The Macron presidency probably needed to happen. We needed to see neoliberal centrism and capitulationism fully discredited. I was here. I knew that we were all going to fail, that centrist Democrats were going to fail. I knew it. I was here. But a lot of other people needed to see it because people don't want to fight. People do not want to be disruptive. They don't want to be confrontational. So they need to try everything. Unless you're a sociopath, you have to expend all other avenues of recourse before you fight. And now we're in there. We have seen it. It's discredited. Honestly, it's what happened in 2024 was the best thing that could have happened for our movement. Joe Biden had to be fully discredited. Kamala Harris had to be given her shot and lose. Because if she didn't, she would have been hanging over the fucking Democratic Party like a fucking ghoul. And she would have been the clear front runner. And it would have been the most annoying rad lib bullshit. We needed her to lose. We had to see her fucking lose for the left to really be able to have a shot at taking the Democratic Party. The way is open. Everything that I said would happen has happened. My accelerationist strategy worked. Suck my dick. I will never apologize. Do I think Zohran would have won if Kamala won? Absolutely not. She would have been campaigning for fucking Cuomo. She would have campaigned for Cuomo. She would have endorsed Cuomo. He would have had a joint endorsement with fucking Bill Clinton. And Zohran, as much as I love him, would not have beaten that.
And New York State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani is poised to win the Democratic primary for New York City, beating out former Governor Andrew Cuomo. He's now set to head to the general election, but his likely primary win is already sending shockwaves through the Democratic Party. And joining me now is Zohran Mamdani. Mr. Mamdani, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. There is so much to discuss. We have to start with your remarkable victory in the primary for mayor. You're 33 years old. As I just said, you started out at close to 0% in the polls, Mr. Mamdani. You came back to topple one of the biggest names in New York politics, Andrew Cuomo. What was the secret to your success? Do you think it was your message? Do you think that voters were voting against Andrew Cuomo? A little bit of both? How do you see it?
I think ultimately it was the focus on the fact that we live in the most expensive city in the United States of America. It's also the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 4 New Yorkers are living in poverty, and the rest are seemingly trapped in a state of anxiety. And what we've seen is that this is a city that needs to be affordable for the people who build it every day. Our focus was on exactly that, and by keeping that focus on an economic agenda, we showed New Yorkers that this could be more than just a museum of what once was. It could be a living, breathing testament to possibility.
Well, let me ask you about what I was just discussing with Senator Chris Murphy. The fact that you have leaders Schumer, leaders Hakeem Jeffrey, who wrote very nice things about your victory, said you'd won a very strong campaign, have not endorsed you. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has endorsed you. Do you think the Democratic establishment is afraid of you?
I think that people are catching up to this election. This is an election that went against so much of the analysis that had been told about our party and where we needed to head to. And ultimately, what we're showing is that by putting working people first, by returning to the roots of the Democratic Party, we actually have a path out of this moment where we're facing authoritarianism in Washington, D.C.
Well, let's talk about your policies, your vision for this city. Here are some of the things you've proposed: free buses, rent-stabilized housing, a $30 minimum wage, the creation of city-owned grocery stores. It's a very long list of proposals. So let me ask you, if you were to be elected the next mayor of New York, what would your day one priority be?
The first thing is living up to these promises that I've made, because I've made them because I intend to keep them. And in a city of about 8.5 million people, close to 2.5 million New Yorkers live in rent-stabilized housing. The mayor, through a board called the Rent Guidelines Board, sets whether or not those rents increase or stay the same. The previous mayoral administration froze the rent 3 times. This one, led by Mayor Adams, increased it by 9%. So the first thing that I would do is start to constitute a board that votes in reflection of reality. And the reality I'm speaking of is that the median household income of those tenants is $60,000 a year. The landlords of those units have seen their profits increase by 12%. It's time for relief for working class New York.
Well, no. You see, the landlords need to have their profits increase by even more. And then they're going to say, you know, I'm so tired of all these profits. I need to build more housing. I need to get, I own this monopoly and it's causing me to make money hand over fist with no additional work. But you know what I need to do, guys? I need to increase the supply of housing to lower my rents. See, chat, we call this problem also exists. This is why minimum wages do not cost jobs as well. Because oftentimes employers get into a situation of a monopsony where they are the only buyer of labor, right? That's what monopsony means. So it's a monopsony related problem where you're the only buyer, right? If you start offering more money for the next marginal worker, all your existing workers are going to see that and they're going to demand higher wages themselves. So you might not hire the next marginal worker, even though that next marginal worker would be profitable at that higher wage, because all the other workers are going to see that and they're going to demand raises. So if you say are paying everybody $10 an hour and they each make $50 of profit, or not, let's just say they each make $20 of profit an hour, you paid $10 in profit an hour, and you have 100 workers. If you hire the next worker at $15 an hour, he's still profitable as a worker. You're still netting $5 an hour, but the 100 other employees are going to see his $15 an hour and they're going to say, hey, I demand $50 an hour like the new guy, right? And so what's 100 times? So now $500 an hour, you'll have to pay more. So you're not hiring an additional guy. So to make that $5 an hour for the next employee, it's going to cost you $500 an hour. So the next employee's cost is not $15 an hour. It's $515 an hour. That's why you don't hire him. And that's the monopsony trap that we get into. That's why raising the minimum wage actually doesn't cost jobs, because those people still make. So if you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, the company's still profitable. But they've lost profits, right? So they make avenues of adjustment where they hire as many people that are profitable at $15 an hour. So they do a massive increase in hiring. This is one of the avenues of adjustment. So this is why this is a monopsony trap. This is why landlords just getting higher rents doesn't spur massive new housing construction. Because landlords are not the same as developers. Landlords are landlords. Landlords have monopoly control over their land. That's what makes landlording different than, say, other commodity production. Because land is not perfectly substitutable with other land. They're monopolies. My parcel in Manhattan is not perfectly substitutable with parcel in Brooklyn. So I have a monopoly, government granted monopoly on that parcel in Manhattan. And so that gives me tremendous power that is similar to monopoly pricing rather than a pure commodity production. This is economics. I'm sorry, chat. This is economics 301. Okay. So you might not learn about this shit in economics 101. You might have to take a couple more classes.
Okay, well, of course, the big question is, how are you going to pay for it? You've proposed increasing taxes on wealthier New Yorkers. The Democratic governor, though, of your state, Kathy Hochul, says she's not going to support increasing taxes in order to get it across the finish line. I want to let you take a listen to a little bit of what she had to say recently and respond on the other side. Here she is.
I'm not raising taxes on people at a time when affordability is the big issue. I'm actually cutting middle class
Even on the
taxes.
wealthy.
I don't want to lose any more people to go to Palm Beach. We've lost enough.
How are you going to raise taxes if you can't get Democrats to support it?
So I think what we've shown over the last 8 months is our ability to take that which is considered a non-starter and make it seem inevitable. We've shown that with this campaign, and ultimately we're seeing that our vision to tax the top 1% of New Yorkers, these are New Yorkers who make $1 million a year or more, and our proposal is to just tax them by 2% additional, is something that has broad support and will continue to increase that support over the next few months and years.
So you think you're going to be able to twist Governor Hochul's arm and get her to support raising taxes? I mean, what about the fact that she says she's concerned New Yorkers might leave? They might go to Florida.
I think it's time for a leadership that doesn't twist arms, but rather builds partnership. And I'm looking forward to having that with the governor, because ultimately my policies, my vision, it's driven by an assessment of what's actually happening. The Fiscal Policy Institute found that the top 1% of New Yorkers leave at 1/4 the rate of other income groups. And when they do leave, it's actually to other states considered high tax, New Jersey, California. So it's not fiscal policy, it's quality of life. And ultimately, the reason I want to increase these taxes on the top 1%, the most profitable corporations, is to increase quality of life for everyone, including those who are going to be taxed.
Here's how the Washington Post editorial board wrote about your proposals. They say a massive minimum wage would depress low-skilled employment. His rent freeze would reduce the housing supply and decrease its quality.
The Washington Post editorial board is weighing in on a non-local race? Wait, weird? What?
Cutting bus fares would leave a transit funding hole that, unless somehow filled, would erode service.
By the way, chat, Vienna has had rent control since the 90s, and it's the most affordable big city in Europe. It's growing in population. Rent control does not cause this shit. It's just wrong. What causes it is profiteering.
Meanwhile, the grocery business operates on thin margins.
No, these are accounting tricks. God, I hate these fucking people. They're so stupid, man. They're so fucking stupid. They're charging $9 for grapes in supermarkets in New York City. Do you think it cost them $9 on that item? They're probably running 300% margin on that item, if not more. This is just bullshit. This is accounting tricks. And that's why there's, if this is true, what's so odd is that they're so against this pilot program. If it's so obviously true, if the margins are so thin, if it's impossible to run a grocery store and offer good wages for the workers and good prices on the products, then it'll be very readily apparent, won't it? Denim's refugees, banned. I think Denim's is just taking a day off to work on shit. I am doing the old fish, DSA fish.
His plan for city-run stores would probably lead to fewer options, poor service, and shortages. Mr. Mamdani, are your proposals going to hurt the very people you're trying to help?
Not at all. There have been many in editorial board who have had concerns, and what we've shown is that more than 400,000 New Yorkers are excited.
There are government-run grocery stores all over this country. Like, it's not even true. That's the thing that's fucking hilarious. It's not even true. And there are government-owned enterprises that make money in this country, like the Tennessee Valley Authority. So the idea that the government just can't own shit and run it for a profit is just wrong. It's just dead fucking wrong. Sorry. I mean, Pennsylvania, for example, the wine and spirit stores are a government-owned enterprise. If you go to a liquor store in Pennsylvania, it's owned by the state of Pennsylvania. And the prices are good, and the employees are unionized and have pensions and good contracts, and it makes hundreds of millions of dollars of profit for the state every year. So the idea that government owned equal fail is just wrong. I mean, China, 45% of the economy in China is government-owned enterprises. It's the fastest growing economy in human history. They just have ideological blinkers
about this vision. And the reason they're excited about it is one that is in line with the scale of the crisis in this city. I mean, we are talking about our tax base growing smaller and smaller each day, with New Yorkers leaving to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, to Connecticut. If we do not meet this moment, we will lose this city. And our proposals are ones that are thought out. They are ones that are also clearly going to be funded by these revenue streams. I'll give you an example. When we talk about grocery stores, I've put forward a proposal for a pilot of one grocery store in each borough. These are 5 grocery stores that would cost $60 million in a city budget of more than $113 billion. And ultimately, the reason that we are so excited by them is we've seen that they've worked in Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting. And finally, it costs less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidizing corporate supermarkets without any guarantee of cheaper prices, any guarantee of collective bargaining agreements, or that they accept SNAP or WIC.
Well, you take me to my next question about grocery stores. Some executives, including one of the top grocery stores owners, billionaires, threatening to shut down his supermarket in the city. John Catsimatidis, who runs Gristedes grocery chain. You're probably very...
Okay, how do you... what's the grocery chain called again? I'm not a New Yorker. What's the grocery chain? John Catsimatidis Gristedes grocery store. Store directory. Let's do these 5. Let's do... Do you order online? Oh, I have to like have a login and fuck this shit. I was gonna say this is like the worst grocery store. The U.S. State Department has revoked the U.S. visas for members of the Bob Villain band in light of their hateful tirade at Glastonbury. I mean, legitimately pathetic. Legitimately pathetic. Let's just close this before I say something I'm gonna be mad about. Look at these prices. Guys! It's only $14 for a Haagen-Dazs package. It's only $14 for a Haagen-Dazs package. $11 for a Talenti. A Talenti's $11 fucking dollars. These are like $5. What the fuck? $4.29 for a 2-liter? These should be like $1.50. Yo, this is why they don't want the government-run grocery stores. Holy shit! How much could a banana cost? $10 isn't even a fucking joke in New York City. That's legitimately what it costs. Holy shit. This is just normal in NYC. No shit! This is fucking... I know it is. It's batshit crazy. You're getting robbed. This being the visage of a grocery capitalist vindicates every 19th century political cartoonist. Oh, why did I capitalize? Because I'm malding and I'm trying to not say what I'm thinking. That's the honest to God truth.
Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting. And finally, it costs less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidizing corporate supermarkets without any guarantee of cheaper prices, any guarantee...
Rent freeze would reduce the housing supply and decrease its quality. Cutting bus fares would leave a transit funding hole that, unless somehow filled, would erode service.
By the way, as I said before, Austria has had... I keep interrupting because every single line they say is a fucking lie. Notice how they just say conclusions on the Washington Post. Notice how they just say fucking conclusions without any evidence. These scum. If you actually look at rent control as it exists in Vienna, it doesn't cause a massive supply crunch. Actually, what it does is it increases the economic diversity of neighborhoods. It allows poor people to live in neighborhoods with high amenities. That's the effect. Residents sorted in neighborhoods based on their preferences for amenities and income, as is studied by many authors, aka poor people go in the ghetto, rich people are in the nice area. But that's not true in Vienna because of rent control. Because 60% of people live in government housing or co-ops or nonprofit buildings. They live in all the nice neighborhoods. So you have poor people that live in the nice neighborhood. So you have complete social integration based on income because of this. Income-based sorting means that given preferences, residents sort into neighborhoods according to their income. Those with higher incomes outbid those with lower income to locate in neighborhoods with greater amenities. Sorting is thus an inherently spatial concept. If a housing policy enables lower income residents to locate in areas where higher income residents live, sorting and consequently the income distribution within neighborhoods is impacted. The original objective of rent control in Austria was to limit excessive increases in rent while securing maintenance of buildings and preserving pre-existing lower heterogeneity in apartment prices. Rent control in Vienna is particularly interesting as it is a neighborhood-specific cap of the rent per meter squared set by the law. we developed a spatial fixed effects identification strategy to examine exogeny and focus on the effect of rent control on income at the census block group. And so what I'm trying to say, Chad, is we've literally seen rent control in Austria, and it doesn't cause these massive disruptions like people say. What it actually does is it helps people firmly root in communities. It creates, we don't have ghettos and concentrated poverty. It fucking works. Now, it works in Austria because they also spend and they build 7,000 new apartment units for working class people every year with government money. It's not that much. They spend $400 million on 7,000 apartments, which means they give $60,000 per apartment. But guess what, chat? These are extremely high quality apartments because they leverage that government funding into even more. And because they have a strong permanent government housing program, they have systems and processes in place. They have government employees that have long track records. They have strong institutional knowledge. They take advantage of land. Like, they have land banks. They actually focus on delivering housing as a fucking right. And it works really well. Fuck, it triggers me so much how people are fucking stupid and they buy dumbass throwaway lines from idiots.
Meanwhile, the grocery business operates on thin margins, and his plan for city-run stores would probably lead to fewer options, poor service, and shortages. Mr. Mamdani, are your proposals going to hurt the very people you're trying to help?
Not at all. There have been many in an editorial board who have had concerns, and what we've shown is that more than 400,000 New Yorkers are excited about this vision. And the reason they're excited about it is one that is in line with the scale of the crisis in this city. I mean, we are talking about our tax base growing smaller and smaller each day, with New Yorkers leaving to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, to Connecticut. If we do not meet this moment, we will lose this city. And our proposals are ones that are thought out. They are ones that are also clearly going to be funded by these revenue streams. I'll give you an example. When we talk about grocery stores, I've put forward a proposal for a pilot of one grocery store in each borough. These are 5 grocery stores that would cost $60 million in a city budget of more than $113 billion. And ultimately, the reason that we are so excited by them is we've seen that they've worked in Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting. And finally, it costs less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidizing corporate supermarkets without any guarantee of cheaper prices, any guarantee of collective bargaining agreements, or that they accept SNAP or WIC.
Well, you take me to my next question about grocery stores. Some executives, including one of the top grocery stores owners, billionaires, threatening to shut down his supermarket in the city. John Catsimatidis, who runs Gristedes grocery chain, you're probably very familiar with him. He said this on Election Day, quote, "If the city of New York is going socialist, I will definitely close or sell or move or franchise the Gristedes locations." In order to run New York City successfully as mayor, do you not need the support of a billionaire businessman like John Catsimatidis?
I don't know if I need his support specifically, but I want to make clear that my vision for this city is a vision for every single New Yorker, including business leaders across the city. And the reason I say that is that my proposals, even the ones to increase the top corporate tax rate of New York to match that of New Jersey, are ones that would also benefit those business leaders. Because when I have conversations with them, what I also hear is just how expensive this city is preventing them from attracting and retaining the talent they need to grow their business. And ultimately, I'm looking forward to having those meetings, having those sit-downs to make clear why this vision would benefit all.
We went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed. We've seen time and again that this is a property tax system that is inequitable. It's one that actually Eric Adams ran on, saying that he would change in the first 100 days. He's since sought to defend it and lost at every juncture in court.
And I understand you're saying we're simply describing the types of neighborhoods that would see these increase in taxes, and yet by invoking race, do you run the risk of potentially alienating key constituents?
I think I'm just naming things as they are. And ultimately, my the thing that motivates me in this is to create a system of fairness. It is not to work backwards from a racial assessment of neighborhoods or our city. Rather, it's to ensure that we actually have an equal playing field. And right now what we see with the property tax system is one that is overtaxing a number of New Yorkers and undertaxing others, and an inability of political will to resolve that.
So no plans to change that language on your website?
The focus here is to actually ensure a fair property tax system, and that the use of that language is just an assessment of the neighborhood.
All right, you are a
By the way, I think he fucked up there. I'll just say this: I don't think he should have said that. I think that was dumb. I think that was a dumb move, because he's been very much able to avoid the kind of like 2020 rad lib fucking accusations, and I think like that stuff kind of slips in there. You don't need to say that. Use dog whistles, man. Just say richer neighborhoods, and richer neighborhoods disproportionately are white. Do the New York strategy where you're talking about economic things, but the effect is that you hurt rich white people more than black people and more than immigrants. Talk about class, because the vast majority of white people are not rich. So you'll be helping them as well. I don't like anytime you allow this kind of rad lib shit to just creep in, they're just going to pound on that. Even the meat pressed liberal journalist is doing it. Like, you fell into a trap there. So it is what it is. I think that was a mistake, but I think his answer was good. But he fell for the rad lib internet trap.
Described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires, because frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Well, let me ask you about what Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has had to say. He's had a lot to say about your campaign. He called you a communist. Because he's the president, I want to give you a chance to respond directly to him. How do you respond? Are you a communist?
No, I am not. And I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound.
By the way, chat, wow. They're saying he's a communist. They said the same thing about Obama. It's almost like being a fucking socialist doesn't change anything. The Republicans are going to call you the same shit no matter what. So you might as well just support what's good. Now, chat, there's a reason why you can't call yourself a communist, because they will fucking try to deport you. Like, if he had said he was a communist, they would have deported him. They would have stripped his citizenship, literally. You can't, like, I think a lot of people don't understand that you're not allowed to say you're a communist in America. Like, if you do and nothing happened to you, it's because you're not important enough for them to care. And I don't say that to be mean. I say that as a statement of fact.
Where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower that he has since then betrayed. And when we talk about my politics, you know, I call myself a democratic socialist in many ways inspired by the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there has to be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And as income inequality has declined nationwide, it has increased in New York City. And ultimately, what we need is a city where every single person can thrive.
All right. Stay right there. We are going to take a quick break. More of our exclusive conversation with Zohran Mamdani when we come right back. Stay with us. We are back here live in New York with State Assemblyman and the presumptive Democratic nominee for mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani. Thank you so much for sticking around for more questions. Let's talk about immigration, deportation. Are you committed to keeping New York as a sanctuary city?
Absolutely, because ultimately we've seen that this is a policy that has kept New Yorkers safe for decades. It's a policy that had previously been defended by Democrats and Republicans alike until the fear-mongering of this current mayor. And it's a policy that we've seen ensures that New Yorkers can get out of the shadows and into the full life of the city that they belong to. And it's one that I will be proud to stand up for.
Well, you know, the border czar, Tom Homan, has said that he is planning to deploy ICE agents to New York, worksite enforcement to essentially increase and enhance the number of ICE agents here. If that happens on your watch, how do you plan to handle it?
We have to stand up and fight back, and we haven't seen that from our current mayor, who has instead been working with the Trump administration to assist in their goal of building the single largest deportation force in American history. I mean, we saw ICE agents arrest a migrant at Federal Plaza, and then we saw NYPD officers arresting a pastor who was peacefully observing that arrest. Those days are going to come to an end when I'm the mayor. The NYPD's job is to create public safety in the city, not to assist ICE agents in their mission to attack the very fabric of this city.
I want to talk about the historic nature of your candidacy. If you were to win, you would become the first Muslim mayor of New York City. Along the way, throughout the course of this primary campaign, you have received death threats. You've received all sorts of attacks online. Congressman Andy Ogles called for you to be deported, for example, because you were born in Uganda. He also issued an Islamophobic epithet, which I am not going to repeat here. But what type of toll has this taken on you personally and on your family?
It's been difficult. It's been difficult to have to.
By the way, chat, my response to this is, you know, if it were me getting asked this question, my answer is, I'm not scared. They are. They're scared of seeing a politician who actually will fight for the regular people. The politicians that attack me are frightened to have a politician who is actually on the side of the people because they're worried about the comparison with a good example. And they're getting overheated because they're afraid
to deal with the regular and repeated smears and slander upon my name and on the very basis of my faith. And I think what's so sad is that this is but a glimpse into what life is like for many Muslim New Yorkers and many New Yorkers of different faiths who are constantly being told that they don't belong in this city and in this country that they love. And ultimately, what continues to give me hope is that these moments are but small examples, something that goes against what so many New Yorkers actually feel. Because what we know is that this is a city for all of us. And what Tuesday night showed is that what New Yorkers want more than anything is a vision that binds us all together.
I want to ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent weeks. You were recently asked about the term globalize the intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's
condemn the phrase. Guys, condemn the phrase. They think this shit's gonna work. This shit only works if you act like a fucking bitch and apologize. This shit only works if you act like a bitch and apologize. Never apologize. Be like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. I'm not gonna waste my time condemning a phrase just because it's in Arabic. I think the question is absurd. Let's talk about New York City and how I'm going to make the lives of every New Yorker, Jews, Muslims, Christians, and non-believers alike better, because that's my job. This is pathetic. Aren't you embarrassed to ask this question? Aren't you embarrassed?
A phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard those fears and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech in the manner especially of that of Donald Trump, who has put one New Yorker in jail who's just returned to his family, Mahmoud Khalil, for that very supposed crime of speech. Ultimately, what I think I need to show is the ability to not only talk about something, but to tackle it and to make clear that there's no room for anti-Semitism in this city. We have to root out that bigotry, and ultimately we do that through the actions, and that is the mayor I will be, one that protects Jewish New Yorkers and lives up to that commitment through the work that I do.
But quickly, for the people who care about the language and who feel really concerned by that phrase. Why not just condemn it?
My concern is to start to walk down the line of language and making clear what language I believe is permissible or impermissible takes me into a place similar to that of the president who is looking to do those very kinds of things, putting people in jail for writing an op-ed, putting them in jail for protesting. Ultimately, it's not language that I use. It's language I understand there are concerns about. And what I will do is showcase my vision for the city through my words and my actions.
Let me ask you broadly. Your surprise victory has some progressive Democrats saying, boy, you may have determined the model for the Democratic Party nationally in this moment. Do you think your campaign represents the playbook for how to win in the Trump era for Democrats?
I think it showcases a new approach to politics in our city, and it's for others to decide across our country. Ultimately, what we wanted to do from the very beginning of this race was change our political instinct from lecturing to listening. And after the presidential election, where we saw New York be the state in the nation with the largest swing towards Donald Trump, 11.5 points, and we saw that swing took place far from the caricatures of Trump voters, I went to those hearts of immigrant New York City that were the fulcrum of those swings, Hillside Avenue in Queens, Fordham Road in the Bronx, and I asked Democrats, who did you vote for and why? And I heard from them again and again, I voted for Donald Trump because I could afford things that are now out of my reach today. And ultimately, when I asked them what would it take to bring you back to the Democratic Party, they said a relentless focus on an economic agenda. And that's the campaign that we built.
Do you think that your apparent victory is a sign that there is an appetite for young progressives like a Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to run for president in 2028?
It's an honor to be endorsed by Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and to have been represented by her for so many years, because she's showcased so much of what we're trying to do in this campaign. The ability to not only stand up and fight, but also to win. And ultimately, what people want to see is someone who doesn't just believe in something, but can deliver on those things. And now, especially more than ever, we need to be a party that's not just against Donald Trump, but also for something. And our campaign was for working people, for bringing dignity back into those lives. And that's what the Congresswoman has showed time and again.
I can't let you go without doing a little bit of local politics.
Please.
So Mayor Eric Adams already in.
Oh, my gosh. 19 minutes and we're not talking about Israel for 20 seconds. Yay! We're not talking about Israel. Yay! You know what, chat? I want to say this. I want to say this. If you are the type of person who thinks that Israel takes up too much time in our politics, you have to vote for Zohran.
The general election as an independent candidate. We're waiting to see if Andrew Cuomo officially throws his hat into the ring. Do you think you can win if the two of them are in the race? Can you beat both of them?
Absolutely. We can beat anyone that's in this race, because what we've shown is that this is a campaign that has the support of more than 400,000 New Yorkers. In the first round of Tuesday night, we got more votes than Eric Adams did by the last round of 2021. And ultimately, it's a referendum on how he made this city so unaffordable. For too long, politicians have pretended to simply be bystanders to a cost of living crisis. They've actually exacerbated it. And our vision is one that will respond to it and make this a city affordable for every New Yorker.
All right. Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, thank you so much for the conversation. Really appreciate it. Please stay safe on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is the first interview she's ever asked follow-up questions, just all for Israel. When I say we're never going to forget, when I say, like, it's already over, I want you guys to know this. Our generation is going to clean this fucking country out of all the scum that supported Zionism during this genocide. Like, we're not going to stop. We're going to clean. It's going to be far. Like, remember how people lost primaries for supporting the Iraq war? This is going to be like that forever. But you're a Zionist is going to be like on the level of you are a Nazi. All right, we're just getting started.
We thank you for watching, and remember,
I want you to know that. I want you to know that. Like I will never let anyone who is a Zionist have a moment of peace. I'm never going to compromise on this, ever. Police launch investigation of Bob Villain and kneecap Glastonbury sets. Look at this centrist fucking loser Labor Party that's literally got an 18% approval rating using authoritarianism to try to silence what the vast majority of people believe. People complain. They talk about China being authoritarian. China does not do this to something that 90% of the Chinese people believe. This is fucking batshit. The US and the UK are more authoritarian over Zionism than China ever has been. Going back to the cultural fucking revolution.
Zohran Mamdani, the 33-year-old Democratic socialist who claimed a surprising victory in the New York City mayoral Democratic...
Surprising landslide. And by the way, chat, tomorrow we're getting the ranked choice votes. Oh, baby. Tomorrow we get the ranked choice votes. And let me fucking tell you, I can't wait to see the landslide that we get. Oh, baby. I hope you're ready. Because you think it's good now. Wait till tomorrow when he gets 56% of the vote.
Primary last week stopped short of fully condemning the phrase globalize the intifada, which many say is a call for violence against Jewish people. Here's his full exchange yesterday on NBC's Meet the Press with moderator Kristen Welker.
I want to ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent weeks. You were recently asked about the term globalize the intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's a phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard those fears and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech in the manner especially of that of Donald Trump, who has put one New Yorker in jail who's just returned to his family, Mahmoud Khalil, for that very supposed crime of speech. Ultimately, what I think I need to show is the ability to not only talk about something, but to tackle it and to make clear that there's no room for anti-Semitism in this city. We have to root out that bigotry, and ultimately we do that through the actions, and that is the mayor I will be, one that protects Jewish New Yorkers and lives up to that commitment through the work that I do.
But very quickly, for the people who care about the language and who feel really concerned by that phrase, why not just condemn it?
My concern is to start to walk down the line of language and making clear what language I believe is permissible or impermissible takes me into a place similar to that of the president, who is looking to do those very kinds of things, putting people in jail for writing an op-ed, putting them in jail for protesting. Ultimately, it's not language that I use. It's language I understand there are concerns about. And what I will do is showcase my vision for the city through my words and my actions.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York says that Mamdani needs to do more, though, in calling out the phrase.
Globalizing the intifada, by way of example, is not an acceptable phrase, and he's going to have to clarify his position on that as he moves forward. With respect to the Jewish communities that I represent, I think our nominee is going to have to convince folks that he is prepared to aggressively address the rise in anti-Semitism in the city of New York, which has been an unacceptable development.
Okay, joining us now, the host of the podcast On Brand with Donny Deutsch. Donny, thank you very much for joining us. Look, there is nuance in what Mamdani is saying. I get it in that second answer where he says he doesn't want to get into the business of what language is permissible and what language is not permissible. But what did you make of his decision? And it clearly is a decision. He knew he could be asked about this. His decision on Meet the Press not to condemn the phrase.
I'm outraged that we have a candidate for mayor of New York, Mr. Mamdani, that cannot walk back or cannot condemn the words.
I want you to understand something right now, chat. Never, ever, ever, never, ever, never, ever, ever apologize to a Zionist, ever. Never apologize to a Zionist, ever, about anything. Ever, never, ever. In fact, that's actually, if you watch Ethan Klein and Gila Klein, one of the things they're constantly complaining about is nobody's even admitting there's any problem. They're not even apologizing at all about anything. Never apologize about a single fucking thing. Not one thing. Never apologize to a Zionist ever. Ever. The moment you're like, well, you know, I could see why some people feel that way. They're going to say that the left is anti-Semitic. You admitted it. You're an anti-Semite. You had to apologize for your anti-Semitism. Blah, 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 blah. This is far preferable. Have them do this and everyone be like, why are you constantly talking about Israel? Make them keep demanding shit and be like, I'm trying to talk about New York. I care about the Jews in New York. I do not support Israel's genocide. Force them to talk about the genocide. Never apologize to a Zionist ever about anything, ever. Never. Not one thing.
Globalize the Intifada and his nuance of, well, it means different things to different people. Let me tell you what it means to a Jew. It means violence. It means October 7th. It means firebombing people in Colorado. It means violence. That's the connotation. That's the essence of it. And that's what it means to Jewish people. And if any other group came forward and said, you know what, these words are offensive to us, it means violence, it frightens us, I think there'll be a response. But for some reason, if Jewish people find it offensive, it's not offensive. And I find it offensive that he cannot condemn those words. And I think he's overall running a campaign of divisiveness. He also came out in the last 2 days and said, we're going to tax rich white neighborhoods. Why do you have to put white in there? Just say we're going to tax the...
Look at these Republicans. Look at these fucking Republicans, man. Look at these fucking Republicans. He didn't say that. He literally didn't say that. That's a fucking lie! He said they were describing the neighborhood's demographics as a richer, whiter neighborhood. He didn't say we're going to come tax white people. You fucking liar! You fucking liar!
Wealthy.
Every Zionist. I find it offensive. I find your face offensive. You got to learn from Corbyn, man. You got to learn from Corbyn. You got to learn from Corbyn. These people can never be trusted. You can never give a Zionist an inch because they'll take your entire home.
Offensive. I find it offensive that in the past he's talked about defunding the police. I think he's walked that back, but yet he voted $3 billion out of a police budget. And I just find there's a recklessness and a divisiveness to it. And I'm offended as a Jew that he can't walk that back.
Let's bring in the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League.
Listen, wait a minute. They're bringing in the ADL CEO right after Donnie Deutsch. Look how they're propagandizing MSNBC liberals. And this must be this is the word from Hakeem Jeffries. This is MSDNC. They don't do shit like this without the direct guidance of the Democratic Party. It's time to go to war.
Jonathan Greenblatt. Jonathan, I know we had a few.
I mean, like, legitimately, this guy is a spy. He's not an American. He's a spy. A functioning society, he would be in prison.
Problems with your connection. I'm glad we've got you back again. I wanted to get your reaction to what Mr. Mamdani said this weekend on Meet the Press.
Well, look, I think sometimes the things you don't say are what people hear loudest of all. And when asked a very direct question, and I'll just elaborate on what Donnie just said. Look, the Intifada was a period of violence directed at civilians. More than 1,000 people were killed in suicide bombs.
I want to tell you this, chat. He did not say this. He did not say globalize the Intifada. He said, I'm not going to be policing protests. I'm not going to be policing other people's language. I don't think that's the job of the mayor. That's what he said. He didn't say globalize the Intifada. He didn't say it. So they're doing a whole segment about something he did not say.
And shootings and stabbings in Israel. And of course, we also saw what happened on October the 7th. October the 7th, the murder of 1,200 people is what revived that phrase, Gadi. So let me be clear. It was notable that candidate Mamdani went to Harlem this weekend. It was notable he went with my friend, the Rev. He went to meet Black people in Harlem on their own terms. I think what Jewish people would want to see is where
never give an inch to this fucking liar. He is an enemy. And the ADL spied on people who did anti-apartheid protests during the apartheid of South Africa. They gave information to those people to the South African apartheid government. Israel was the closest ally to the apartheid government of South Africa. Israel despises black people. Black Jews are discriminated against in Israel. Don't listen to this fucking liar.
Where the candidate goes to meet mainstream Jewish people in a mainstream synagogue or in a mainstream setting and simply says with the same clarity that he brought this weekend, where he met, again, black people where they are and simply said to Jewish people, I hear you, and here is my plan to protect Jewish New Yorkers.
He already did that, you fucking dumb fuck piece of shit. You lying sack of shit. He said he was going to have a strong focus on developing an anti-hate crime and anti-bigotry task force. He already said that, you fucking liar.
You know, more hate crimes enforcement for everyone. That should be a given. But here is why I understand what
you don't get special treatment because you want to do a genocide. You don't get special treatment from criticism, you fucking scum. Stop watching. Like, if you, like, honest to God, people need to just stop watching MSNBC completely. It is a propaganda network. It is trash.
You are telling me as a community I need. And here is why I, as your mayor, will do certain things. Other than that, Caddy, if he can't simply say, I will be the mayor for all New Yorkers, including Jewish New Yorkers, and here's how I will do it. Here is the plan. Then I think people have a right not only to be offended, but to question what's really going on here. Why won't he give Jewish New Yorkers the same respect he's giving to all other communities?
So, Rev, we saw you in that picture there meeting with candidate Mamdani this weekend. I'm sure you had a conversation with him as well. I think that's what Jonathan has just said is a very fair point. Did you hear anything from him? Have you spoken to him about this? Do you think it's a plan of his to go out there and say to Jewish voters in New York, I treat you with the same respect that I treat black voters, I treat you with the same respect that I treat Muslim voters, and I absolutely want to make sure that you feel safe in this city? And I think he's got that inability of his to condemn that language is going to be something that keeps coming back to haunt him in his campaign unless he does something.
Here's what I want you to understand. He'll never condemn it. He'll never condemn it. Globalize the Intifada is not something he said. You fucking scum. You pathetic. Like, how do boomers watch this shit and not become enraged? How do boomers not watch this shit and go, God damn, this is propaganda. This is disgusting. This is pathetic. How the fuck do you not watch this and go, what the fuck is this shit? Like, you have to be brain dead to watch this shit.
That like what Jonathan is suggesting.
Well, I think he definitely denounced from his speech anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. But let's deal directly with it. Let's not skirt around the issue. We're not talking about something subtle here. Things that I remember 20, 30 years ago, I said things, nothing like endorsing violence, but that was offensive to Jews, offensive to gay people. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, Martin Luther King's widow, said to me, Al, you cannot take words lightly. I said, but I was just slanging.
He didn't say it, you dumb fuck. He didn't say it. He didn't say it, you dumb fuck.
You can't do it. He's running for mayor of New York. You need to take off the table. Do you support international intifada or not? Period. Intifada. Not go around.
He said, I didn't say it, and it's not the words that I would use. But I'm not here to police language of the pro-Palestine movement. He literally, like, shut your fucking fat mouth.
That I understand you don't want to be forced into something, but I don't think that's what he stands for from what he said to us, and he should say that outright. Secondly, I agree with Jonathan. He ought to meet with the Jewish community.
He already has, you fucking lying sack of shit. By the way, notice how there's no debate. They're saying debate. Debate? Where's the debate? This is propaganda. 9 minutes. You've all agreed on everything. Where's the debate? Where's the... This is fucking disgusting.
I think he will. But I think you've got to understand people like Donnie that are offended by many things. And Donnie has had to defend me to his friends from things that I've said in the past. They would deal with this. But what I fear, Donnie, is you have the mayor, Eric Adams, who's running on an independent line named after anti-Semitism. You have this out here with the opponent. And I don't want to see a race where it's blacks against Jews.
I know.
He needs to meet with Jewish leaders so they can see the kind of guy I saw on Saturday. And we need to take it off. Otherwise, we're going to heighten tensions. We just had Jews killed at a museum in Washington, D.C. This got to stop. And leadership needs to make it stop.
I'm making a plea to Mr. Mamdani that from a Jewish perspective, those words are frightening and offensive. And it's not your point of view, it's a Jew's point of view, and you need to understand that.
Jonathan, if he did what you say, what you suggest, would that take away your concerns about his candidacy? Would that be enough?
Well, look, I mean, I want to hear the plans from all the candidates, not just Mamdani. But considering his, past, he was a student organizer for a group called Students for Justice in Palestine. They're the ones who led the systematic marginalization and targeting of Jews on college campuses over the last year and a half. And so when Mr. Mamdani shows up and says, again, I think this is a very important point, Caddy, he doesn't get to pick and choose which Jewish people he talks to. He needs to come to us. He needs to meet us where we are. If he could do that, he would allay a lot of concern. But look, this guy, he wants free buses. He wants government-controlled grocery stores. He's got a lot of big plans, Caddy. I don't know why, considering his big plans, he's going to need a lot of political capital. He's going to need a lot of allies. I don't know why, again and again and again, he simply won't take this head on, like the Rev said.
I want you to know we're going to take it head on, and we're going to smash the consensus on Israel, and we're going to destroy the Democratic Party's consensus on this, and we're going to frighten you. It's going to be a partisan issue now. Only Republicans are going to support Israel, and we are going to cut your funding. Oh my God, we are going to pull back your funding. I welcome this fight on the ground of Israel. Make it about Israel. Make it about Israel. I can't fucking wait. I'm desperate to fight over Israel. Let's fucking go.
Kristen Welker did an amazing job yesterday, and he had a chance just to literally put this to rest, Caddy. And like I said at the top, sometimes the things we don't say are actually the loudest. That's what people hear. So that's what the Jewish community right now is struggling with. Reform people and observant people, liberal people and conservative people, at a time when anti-Semitism has surged to record levels. The idea of a candidate who won't clearly and unambiguously say, here is my plan, I am with you, leaves a lot of us deeply, deeply troubled.
Okay, well, if he's been watching Morning Joe for the last 3 minutes, he will have heard that message loud and clear. Let's see if he reaches out. CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Green.
Here's what I will say about this propaganda. And here's what I'll say about this propaganda. Hey, boomers, your time is fucking over. And we're not going to be nice about it. Zohran, it's Zohran or else. I hope people know this. He's a smiling, nice guy. When it falls to people like me, we will not be nice. We're not going to be nice about it. This is your last chance.
Black, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
AIPAC is working overtime. I see a panel says they're concerned about people unsafe from language use, but can't condemn kids feeling the agony of forced starvation. Why won't you condemn the genocide? She laid the trap 3 times. He didn't fall. Get over it. Palestinians in Gaza are dying in scores. Oh my God, this is so annoying that they're even asking this. Are non-Muslim candidates asked how they would protect Muslims at home and abroad? Why should he condemn language he never used? He was clear on his position. No violence. It's over!
The other thing I think that's worth pointing out, and Rev, I want to bring you in on this, and Donnie too. We have asked on this show, because I was on last week, multiple politicians. We asked Haley Stevens this morning whether she had been watching the mayoral race and what she took away from either his style or his policies. We asked the same thing of Abigail Spanberger, who is running for governor in Virginia. We asked the same thing of Alyssa Slotkin. And guess what? None of them really wanted to talk about his race. Democrats, Rev, running away. Hold on a second. We're going to listen first of all. We have the bite.
I do not pretend to know anything about New York City politics or the outcomes of that election. What I know is my state, the Commonwealth of Virginia.
I'm not going to pretend to be a complete expert on New York City politics, but I think the messages coming out of that election a couple of days ago seemed clear to me, which were, number one, people, just like in November, are still really focused on the cost of living.
What is this New York you talk about? Suddenly Democrats deciding that they don't want to have anything to do with Mamdani, Donnie? Is this a feeling that, I mean, it's just, it's so implausible that these people who are running for high office have not watched what was happening in New York and the bombshell that happened in New York politics last week. I don't buy it.
I think they're walking away from extremism. Extremism on the left is just as bad as extremism on the right. I think.
Here's what I'm going to say, you Zionist. We're never going to let Zionists be given public platforms on the left again. When we're done, 10 years from now, being a Zionist will be the same as being a Nazi.
I think when somebody is a self-proclaimed socialist, that's
but then just say that. Just say that he's too
then
extreme,
they're also
and I'm going to walk away from it.
they're afraid of being primaried by somebody from the far.
Then we're gonna primary you.
Far left. So the Democrats are really in a conundrum here. But the bottom line is this type of extremism. When somebody says I'm against capitalism, I am a socialist. Donald Trump is licking his chops when he hears that. The Republicans want to run against that.
The Republicans want to be the pro-capitalism, pro-corporate, pro-Israel party. I can't imagine a fight that I wouldn't want to have more.
I've been very outspoken. The Dems got to move to the center. This is an extreme example of them moving the opposite direction, and that's why those politicians are running from it.
Well, let me say this. I think, again, I think that he should meet with Jewish leadership, as Greenblatt said. I did not see him as the kind of guy that wants to support killing anybody. But he needs to meet directly with that. Other things he's saying is resonating.
Don't listen to this shit. Don't listen to this fucking shit. Don't listen to this fucking shit. If you fall for this, you're stupid as fuck. I hope Zohran is smarter than this. This is how they got Corbyn. This is how they got Corbyn. Corbyn was like, well, you know, okay, let's see if we can find examples and be reasonable. And you know, if there is hatred, I want to deal with it. And it turns out that they just used it to keep the conversation going. Corbyn apologizes for blatant anti-Semitism in the Labor Party. And it was just a continual grind. Just make them keep repeating the same shit and laugh at it each time.
The affordability, the issues that he's raising is good. But what I really, really am afraid of is this turning into a black-Jewish thing with him and Eric Adams. Because Eric Adams has to explain his relationship with Donald Trump. He has to explain if we're in a city that decides now that they ruled at the end of last week that 500,000 Haitians no longer have deportation relief. If they turn this into the next LA, what is Adams going to do? There are real issues here that we need to deal with. And I think that anyone that's going to run the city of New York needs to have to deal with them. Before I make an endorsement, I want to hear that. But the guy I heard on Saturday, the guy I've come to know, I think he should go in front and deal with that. And I think people like you would be candid enough, like you and I beat each other up 30 years ago. And we found common ground over some of the things me saying, yeah, you may be right here.
Because you became a sellout and a fraud. A corrupt sellout and a fraud and a huckster. Who you were 30 years ago is not who you are today. That's why Zohran was able to quote you during the National Action Network and embarrass you because you're such a fucking loser now.
Listen, if you can't handle a conversation, you sure can't handle the city of New York.
Amen.
Matt Lewis, do you think that Republicans who are clearly licking their lips, we've seen it on Donald Trump's Truth Social posts, may be a bit premature, that there is something
Deport her.
I mean, we've been giving Zohran Mamdani a very hard time on the show this morning,
Trump,
but there is undoubtedly...
Why aren't you deporting this person? They're talking about our politics, and they're using a non-American accent. Why aren't they being deported?
A natural political...
You see how ridiculous that sounds? But yet these liberals are in favor of it when it comes to people being anti-Israel.
Talent to the guy. He galvanized young voters, and there's a New York Times story out this morning saying that young people voted in greater numbers than older people in New York City. I mean, he's managing to build something of a movement. Like his policies or not, he's managing to do something politically.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I think Republicans will try to make hay out of this. What else could they do? I'm old enough to remember Republicans running against Ted Kennedy, in every district in America and using him to fundraise. AOC now, I think, is kind of a boogeyman. You've got George Soros. So Republicans will take somebody who is perceived as being extreme and out of touch and use that to villainize and demonize the Democratic Party and also fundraise. But and it will work to a certain degree. And I think this guy is out of step in many ways with the mainstream. But he's young, he's exciting, he has charisma, and he is a rock star. And I argue that the problem that Democrats have right now is not really that they're too far left wing. It's that they're too boring. It's that they seem like politicians. Yeah. And so I think for the Democrats to reclaim the presidency, they're going to need someone like Mamdani, like AOC, who can emerge who doesn't feel like a normal.
Why do you have Winston Churchill in your fucking background? He's a fucking genocidal maniac. What the fuck? It's so crazy how racism is so normalized. Like genocidal racism is so normalized in this country. It's fucking insane. You're American. He's a British conservative who did empire genocides. What the fuck is wrong with you? We have a lot of World War II heroes in America that are cool. You don't have to pick Winston Churchill, you fucking loser. Holy shit.
Politician. Maybe it's a generational change thing. Maybe it could be Bernie Sanders. I just think he's too old. But someone who doesn't.
He was a villain in Peaky Blinders. He was the villain in Peaky Blinders. He was doing shit to hurt the working classes. And he was with the corrupt organized crime guys to fuck with socialists. He was a villain.
Feel like a politician who can speak to angry, disaffected Americans, and maybe also go on Joe Rogan. So look, make hay, but don't take this too lightly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think one of Kamala Harris's problems is that she was a very cautious politician in an era that doesn't allow for much caution. And I think the other candidates who we had on the program actually do need to say, yeah, we've watched it and what we're learning from it. Matt Lewis and Donnie Deutsch, thank you both very much for coming on the show this morning.
Did Destiny's son just say that Hitler was a great guy? Yo, dude, yo, man, somebody's got to take care of that kid and get him off the internet, man. Jesus Christ, dude. If you have an underage child being groomed by Nazis, they need to be off the internet. This is child abuse, dude. What the fuck? He blocked him. He's his dad. You don't block your underage child. You take away their internet. You parent. What the fuck is happening? All right, chat. I think my brain is like gonna explode from hatred of centrist Democrats and how I'm completely proven right. I told you vote blue no matter who is literally just, it's a complete lie. If you bought vote blue no matter who, you're a dope. You got tricked. Also, chat, I want you to, I literally just said this at the beginning of the stream.
Needs to learn how to dog whistle. I'm serious. The left needs to learn how to dog whistle. I'm serious.
Dog whistle. Don't say the things that people that are not part of our community will be able to understand from a screenshot. Peepo smile. Be smarter. I'm gonna start banning people for longer and longer if they don't get this fucking very simple point. Elon decided to name drop you while promoting Hutch for his legal opinion, while at the same time he's promoting a conservative real estate lawyer who moved to Thailand. Sells a passports bureau service called Go East Gentlemen's and Myth of St. Floyd, justifying George Floyd's murder. What the fuck? Also, didn't Destiny's ex-orbiter say that I'm right? Didn't Pisco, who's a lawyer, and isn't he a Destiny orbiter? Did he say I'm right about the lawsuit?
I think someone like XQC or Asmongold could end up with an opinion that's like way more broad.
Oh, wait, and this couldn't?
I suppose, but I think there's less risk in this situation, though, right? Wouldn't you say?
Why?
Because of the particular egregious nature of their mouth.
There's nothing egregious about saying I want to deny someone views, you fucking dumbass. It's called a polemic. Why does people like Hutch are legitimately 5 IQ? Somebody told him that he could just listen to things and make calls, and now suddenly he's interpreting laws or whatever. Just because you have opinions doesn't mean you know what you're fucking talking about, you dummy. People make reviews and critical statements all the time to deny people views. In fact, that's why Destiny and Asmongold never talk about my views and just attack me as a person. It's to deny me views so people do not listen to my arguments because they can't fucking debate me. Do you think Asmongold is up here talking about my political takes and my arguments and fucking analyzing them, you dumb fuck? He's just saying I'm cringe and go harass this guy. That's it. You stupid fuck. Am I going to sue him now for maliciously denying me views? You fucking idiot. All right, chat, we're going to find out who Finn Sane is. This guy's account is an old account. I want you guys to do everything you can to find Finn Sane's posts on every website. Let's find it out. Let's find out what his public posts are. The internet is public posting. You are a public figure. Hey, I found you. Let's see some of your tweets. What have you liked? Oh, wait, you have a private? Oh, wait, here's your reposts.
There's a No Kings demonstration today in the very small town that I live in. I'm gonna go check it out. I'm just really curious as to what the protesters have to say about why they are there today.
It's important to protect our people and the minorities that are being just neglected and slaughtered everywhere.
No fascists. Tell me about that.
This here, I'm just holding the sign for somebody over there.
Tell me about that.
I actually didn't make it. Somebody else made it.
Okay.
And brought it to me, but I like it.
Wow, I can't believe people are not making TikTokable clips. Oh my God, are you not a TikTokable clip person? Well then, your opinions are invalid. I'll debate you, you fucking loser. I'll talk to you about why he's a fascist, a Gestapo. They're Gestapo because they're arresting people for their political views. They're just concealing their identities. They are in plain clothes. They are targeting people that are legal here legally because of their political opinions. You fucking, there you go. I explained it, you dumb fuck. Oh my God, I can't believe grandma is not immediately giving me tight talking points for TikTok 5 seconds. What type of content is this? This is content for 5 IQ person. You're a dumb fuck. You're a stupid piece of shit.
This episode of the Joe Rogan Experience with Bernie Sanders perfectly illustrates what Joe Rogan's been talking about when he's been saying you can't bullshit for 3 hours. You know, the truth is going to come out. You're going to show what you really are. And it's not as if Rogan was like pressing him that hard. You know, he would ask questions about things he was saying, but the questions that Rogan asked, it was just very clear that Bernie didn't have a solid answer for them. For example, they were talking about climate change, and Rogan brought up an article talking about how we're in a season of cooling, which means we're not warming.
This happened 4 hours ago. The world is warming up, and it's happening faster. And you see this exponential curve? See this exponential curve, you fucking dumb bitch? Oh my God, Joe Rogan Googled something from a right-wing fake news site, and Bernie Sanders didn't instantly have the climatology expertise to immediately debunk it, you dumb fuck! How are you this stupid? It's like saying Bernie Sanders thinks everybody should have cancer treatment for free. Here's an MRI. Can you diagnose the cancer, Bernie? I'm not really an expert on cancer. I can't really diagnose stuff. I'm not a doctor. Oh my God, he wants to pay for Medicare for all and he's not evaluating this MRI correctly and tell me what cancer? What a charlatan. This is the level of argument that you like? This is it? This is what you retweet, bro? This is it? This is it? Insane? This is what you think is a good point? A dumbass putting makeup on? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Why'd you run away? I gave you the attention you wanted. You got a little quiet. I'm gonna give you all the attention you can handle.
I think someone like XQC or Asmongold could end up with an opinion that's like way more broad.
Oh, wait, and this couldn't?
I suppose, but I think there's less risk in this situation, though, right? Wouldn't you say?
Why?
Because of the particular egregious nature of their malice.
No, but that's not an element in the fair use analysis or in the test for infringement. You know, intentional siphoning is not an element, right? I could intend to siphon money from you, but give a fair use work, right? I could say I really want to steal from Hutch, and I'm going to do this, but it turns out that my work is fair use, right? It's
someone like XQC.
By the way, this argument is completely airtight. He's fucking stupid. All 4 factors are weighed together to determine if it's fair use. If you fulfill a factor, you fulfill all the factors. It's a or, not an and. You don't have to fulfill all the factors to be fair use, you dumb fuck. It's just one. In order for you to prove copyright infringement, you have to prove that it's all those things. You are stupid, you dumb fuck. Purpose and character of the use. Is it for commercial or non-profit purposes? By the way, if it's non-profit, they let you be more infringing as opposed to if you're doing it to make money. These are just balancing tests, dumb fuck. Nature of the copyrighted work. Is it factual or creative? It was a factual work, about our views and our opinions, and we were responding because we were the subject. We were in dialogue, which you asked us to engage in. So again, not a creative work. It's a factual work, you fucking dumbass. And like, god damn, like he's so fucking stupid. He's so fucking stupid. Sargon won fair use by reposting nearly 100% ripped video to a different political market, which changed the viewer's interpretation of the work. That's very funny. Oh my God, he's promoting. So this guy's just some far right dipshit. Holy shit. Like, honestly, Ethan Klein is the most pathetic fucking loser I've ever seen in my life. He doesn't believe in a goddamn thing. Anyway, let's get back to some real politics, talking about the shit that actually matters in this country. For example, Donald Trump is trying to pass the worst piece of legislation in modern American history. And these dumb fucks are trying to talk to us. By the way, the idea that our politics is fringe. We just won the New York City Democratic primary, bitch. Suck my fucking dick. I peed. It's so funny to be a gaming streamer and be like, I can't believe you guys are doing copyright infringement. You know that playing a video game on stream is copyright infringement, right? Like, you know that's copyright infringement, right? The entire streaming industry, Twitch itself, is built off copyright infringement. Now, what happened is it got big enough and nobody got sued. And then gaming companies realized that this is actually guerrilla marketing and that it's the best advertising for a game, if a game is good, is someone playing the game. So they realized, oh, this is just a form of guerrilla advertising. So they let it go. And in fact, they started promoting it because they realized that, wow, actually copyright infringement is good for us. It actually makes us more money. Nintendo, by the way, has copyright strikes people all the time for playing their games, especially if the games are modified. So Asmongold's entire business is copyright infringement. This dumb fuck is suing or supporting people trying to do the thing, copyright infringe the thing he does. His entire job. He's stupid. He's a dumb fuck. But he believes that he's going to understand that this is going to hurt Trump voters more than any other group. All the rural states are basically held up by Social Security, disability, and Medicaid. Without Social Security and disability and Medicaid, all the red states are going to economically collapse. The states that actually make money and produce value greater than what they consume are New York, California, states like that, Illinois. These states hold up the rest of the country. And so when you cut Medicaid, when you cut these programs, it destroys red states harder. Now, it's going to hurt blue states, without a doubt. It's bad for everybody, but it's going to be fucking right-wingers far more than left-wingers. It's going to hurt more people who voted Trump than voted Harris, period.
The community or take care.
By the way, this whole shit is just to create paperwork that people forget or fuck up so that you can deny them health care that they're clearly entitled to. That's all it's for. It's for to create a bunch of fucking paperwork. And so the people that are really sick or really mentally disabled don't have the ability to do it, and they fall through the cracks and they end up on the streets. That's the purpose of this. It sounds reasonable if you're stupid. In Louisiana, where Mike Johnson is from, the House Speaker's eyeing big cuts to Medicaid. This is in his Louisiana district. It's a lifeline. This is exactly what I was saying earlier. Exactly what I was saying earlier. It is red states and red districts that rely on these welfare programs more than anyone. These welfare programs are just invisible, though. Or Democrats are scared to advocate for them, and Republicans are scared to cut them. But this is the moment. They have decided they don't care how popular anything is anymore. They're going to just go for it, see what happens. And the centrist Democrats agree with it, so they're helping. I think today I am in a rage. I just enraged myself. My vibes were good, but I'm actually viciously angry right now. Like I don't know how more people are not radicalized. Like, legitimately. The Democrats and the Republicans are so fucking evil. I'm pissed. I'm royally pissed. It's like legitimately one of the most insane things I've ever seen. I honestly don't understand how are you Blue Daisy? Okay, we've got another one. Are you not mad at shit? Like, are you not mad at stuff? Oh, I think I found your Instagram. Let's take a look. Hey, you're Canadian. It seems like you're disabled. Got a walker. So why aren't you angry for the people exactly like you that are having their shit cut? I'm Middle Eastern. I'm always mad. Okay, I'm gonna lift my boot off your neck because I don't know how you're not fucking screaming. I don't know how you're not fucking mad. There's a lot of people who don't understand that all emotions are appropriate in certain contexts. The reason you have an emotion is because it serves a biological evolutionary function. Rage serves a function. When you need to fight, you need to have rage. Anger has a function. It's for when you need to be aggressive. It's when you need to defend yourself or assert your position. Every emotion you have serves an evolutionary function. It has a material basis. It exists. And I'm screaming, I'm pissed, I'm angry, I'm mad because it's appropriate. And you're inappropriately calm. You have a flat affect. You are inappropriately not pissed while people are being murdered in front of you. You are fucking wrong. You are well adjusted to evil. If there is a fire burning down your house, you should be feeling fear and you should be getting on the fucking dusty trail and grabbing the people that you love and moving quickly. If you are walking around as the beams are falling around you, you are inappropriately calm. And the beams of our society are on fire. The roof that you shelter on is collapsing. You're not even grabbing a bucket. You're not even grabbing the garden hose. You're walking around as if everything's the same as it was yesterday. And if you don't get a move on, you're gonna be underneath. You're gonna be underneath the house when it collapses, and nothing will be found of you except maybe a dental filling or a charred skull. I think one of the things, listen, I also tried to rein myself in because I'm not trying to yell at people, but there's so much. It's so absurd and it's so evil and it's so wrong that if I don't yell, if I don't exclaim that it's fucked up, I'm gonna lose my mind. How can you contain this level of malicious evil without a reaction? But I do try to contain myself. This is me trying to contain myself. The ICC is being cyber attacked. The ICC detects and contains new sophisticated cybersecurity incident. Sociopaths are they like literally make my skin crawl, especially because she's so fucking like, how do people not just instantly get their, like, isn't this pinging your radar? Like, what the fuck? Like, how are you not like, holy shit, this woman is a fucking reptilian. She's a demon. What the fuck? Those eyes are dead.
Apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall. I made an incorrect assumption.
Wasn't there a rumor that she goes and like sexually exploits veterans at like veteran hospitals? Like she goes to like veteran hospitals and like, I heard this is a big rumor. I'm not asserting that it's like legitimately true, but so I'm not asserting this as a fact. But I heard there was like a scandal where she was going to get a divorce or something. Hold on, let me see if I can find a source for it. Okay, here we go, chat. I'm not just making shit up. Here's ProPublica, one of the more prestigious news sources. Ethical concerns center Jody Ertz's relationship with top military. Okay, wait a minute. Never mind. This isn't it. This is her just doing corruption. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, never mind. She did. Romantic relationship with a legislative affairs official. So she's out there chain fucking, which, listen, I'm not trying to shame people for promiscuity, but promiscuity can be an indicator of sociopathy. And when you combine that with her saying, everyone's going to die, more and more evidence is piling up. When Zohran's like, hey, we should have city-run grocery stores in a city that has grocery stores that are charging $15 for an ice cream cone. They say you can't make money. You wouldn't be able to undercut that price, right? They'll say like, oh, they're bringing back bread lines. Except we have bread lines everywhere. They're just privatized bread lines. We have privatized bread lines in every neighborhood in America. But because it's privatized, apparently that means it doesn't exist. Or I really don't like Katy Perry. I know, brave opinion. But she's like one of those malicious liberals. She's one of those malicious liberals. You know who I do fuck with? Cardi B. Cardi B is cool as fuck. I love Cardi B. Now, Cardi B has dumbass things that she does, but she spoke out so many times on issues that so many other corporate rappers would never speak out on. So she's a real one, even if she's, definitely in the hip hop, I want to get my money up culture. WAP is probably one of the best bangers of the 2000s. Like, people are going to be listening to WAP When we're in the fucking nursing home, we're going to put WAP on. We're going to be taking out our dentures to dance to rap, to WAP. Excuse me. You have to understand, for the right wingers, they think this is good. They think it's eugenic. If you let these people die, if they die, they deserve to die. That's why they're doing it. They don't believe in compassion. They don't believe in providing healthcare to disabled people. They want disabled people to die. That's their hidden morality. They can't come out and say that because the vast majority of people disagree. So they do this. This is how they do dog whistles. This is how they do euphemisms. They're doing these economic things, and the result is eugenic Nazi ideology, but they don't say it because we wouldn't support that. They make a blizzard of fucking paperwork and red tape, and they waste billions of dollars on meaningless bureaucrats as opposed to actually providing care to the people that need it. And the net effect is our society is choked with bureaucracy and waste and disease. They are I have a socialist red tape slashing bill where we do universality on programs, and we do a bill where the government does your taxes for you, and tax returns are optional. So it would be my red tape reducer. You no longer will have to do your taxes. We will do your taxes for you and send you your refund. Only people that want to claim additional credits or have businesses will have to file their taxes. I would literally just slash paperwork for 90% of people. Force the Republicans to defend fucking red tape and propaganda.
Striking how horrified Joni Ernst sounds at the idea of businesses struggling to survive. But when it comes to...
It will be called the Get Rid of Stupid Bullshit bill. Get rid of stupid, annoying bullshit. 3.5 hours into the stream, and I forgot to shill. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting it by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. We get 1 free sub a month with your Twitch Prime. Costs you absolutely nothing, and it takes $2.50 out of Jeff Bezos' pockets. Open presents. Thank you for the 100 gifties. I appreciate you. But the rest of you motherfuckers, don't you dare think, oh, Open Presents got it. No. I see you fuckers with your bullshit make work jobs. I see you sitting at home doing 5 hours of actual work a week, sitting here in my stream every single day. You can afford to sub. Let Open Present subs go to the people who cannot afford them. The people that are working paycheck to paycheck, the parents of young children, college students, people on a fixed income because of retirement or disability, or regular people that are struggling to make ends meet. Those are the people who deserve the gift sub. If you can afford a sub and you got gifted a sub, pay it forward. Pay for your own goddamn sub. Don't sit back in your 6-figure make work bullshit job and take gifted subs from people who actually need it. Let the poors get the free subs. Don't you fucking take a free sub. And Open Presents is not going to be able to spam subs for me forever, okay? Eventually, Open Presents, like everybody else who's a big supporter, and thank you so much, Open Presents. You are incredibly awesome. I consider what you're doing to be incredible. I'm incredibly grateful for it. I just never expect it, you know? And I'm trying to build a community that will last. And communities that last need to be built on a strong and wide base of people. So what you should do, chat, click tier 3 sub, click 6 months in advance, and hit subscribe. That's the single best way to support the stream. Mike, Fox News Mike is right. I agree. Thank you. But also, please keep gifting. Right now, chat, the top sub gifter is Open Presents with the 100 bomb, and the top bit donor is 500 bits. Remember, chat, you can get the Hype Train Conductor badge permanently unlocked onto your account for bits as well as subs. So for 501 bits right now, you could get that golden locomotive next to your name. That becomes eventually a purple locomotive you get to keep. Lisa Murkowski votes to advance GOP mega bill after early misgivings over Medicaid snap cuts. There's no such thing as a moderate Republican. I've said this before. Moderate Republicans do not exist. They are fake. Whether it's Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, or whoever the fuck else you're talking about, Larry Hogan, they're not real. They just have a brand that you fell for. It's a lie for libs. When the going gets tough, they're always there. They all voted to lift the filibuster on Supreme Court judges. They voted to lift the filibuster on this shit. They just basically overruled They overruled the filibuster just now to say that that they're going to assume the Trump tax cuts are permanent for the purpose of calculating the cost of their bill. They just did something that's supposed to be impossible to do. They did it with a majority. Every procedural hurdle that you heard about was always bullshit. A group of Democratic thinkers are plotting to lay out a new agenda for the left. It's called Project 2029. I need to figure out who the fuck's in this. A one-time speechwriter and state party leader. Oh no. Oh God. It's going to be so many tax credits. It's going to be so many tax credits for small businesses, as long as at least one member of the business is a BIPOC. Oh no. It's going to be so bad. All right, chat. There's a video that I wanted to talk about. It's called Why Public Transit Should Have to Pay for Itself. Because a lot of people have been like, I can't believe he's trying to do free buses. That was so bad. Oh my God. We need to. The argument is always, we should just make public transit better and not. We should just make the public transit better and keep charging fares, right? Like, that's the argument. You should keep taking the money in from fares and just make the public transit better. And the reason why that is not a good argument is because when you charge money for something, anybody who can't afford the money doesn't get to use it. So there's a lot of people who would derive tremendous benefits far outweighing the fare that now for society that now don't use the fucking transit. And the people that use public transit are overwhelmingly tend to be poorer Americans. So distributionally, when you make public transit free, you're disproportionately giving money to the poor.
Could we have the money now?
The answer is no.
I'm afraid I must insist. You see, my wife, she has been most vocal on the subject of the ticket monies. Where's the money? When are you going to get the money? Why aren't you getting the money now? And so on. So please, the money.
A key issue for public transport is how it is funded, both the amount of funding and the way it's provided. If the funding is solid, you can usually expect reliable service, happy passengers, and ongoing development. But when the funding is poor, all sorts of problems tend to show up. Unreliable service, decline, a bad reputation, and sometimes even shutdowns. So in this video we are going to discuss two main ways to fund public transport and how each one affects how well it works. And by the way, it's a perfect time to thank everyone who supports my channel on Patreon. But before we dive in, let's talk about what exactly we need money for. Imagine you are the mayor of a fairly big city with a network of bus routes and a few tram lines. So here is what you need to pay for. First of all, you have to buy and maintain your vehicles. Also, build and maintain.
I love this guy's what accent is this, chat? By the way, thank you all for all the support. You guys are the best. And thank you, Open Presence, for carrying the chat.
In the infrastructure, things like tracks and overhead wires, charging stations, bus shelters, rest areas for drivers at the end of the line, and many more. Buy fuel for the buses and electricity for the trams and e-buses. Running the maintenance depot for all your vehicles, and first you'll have to build that depot, of course. Paying the salaries of drivers, mechanics, cleaners, and everyone else who keeps things running. Also, you have to create a decent working conditions for your staff, which includes training, meals, break areas, and so on. Next thing is public communication, keeping passengers informed about changes and services with things like route maps, mobile apps, and those screens at bus stops that tell you when your ride is arriving. And on top of that, insurance, just in case anything goes wrong, cause even in the safest cities, accidents can happen. The list could go on and each of these points could be explored in more detail, but
Tom like a Tom, thank you for the 20 bomb.
You get the idea. Running public transport takes a lot of money. That's why the big question is, where does this money come from and how we spread it? There are two main ways of thinking about what public transportation is and how it should be funded: the self-sufficiency model and the model of paying for transport service. The first approach believes that public transport should be self-sustaining, meaning it should cover all the costs and even make a profit purely from the ticket sales without asking for support from the city or the government. While the second one sees public transport as an essential public service which doesn't have to be profitable, but it does need proper funding so we can support the healthy growth of a city or region. And when we look at the real-world examples, it turns out that only one of these models really allows public transport to run smoothly and grow over time. So let's take a closer look at which one that is. At first glance, the self-sufficiency approach to public transport seems very logical and, because of that, is very popular among those who want to cut public spending. The idea is quite simple. A transport operator runs a route, collects fares from passengers, and that way covers all the costs we talked about earlier. In this situation, the city actually says, here is your route, do whatever you want, and just don't ask us for money. But the problem is that costs of running public transport are more or less constant. For example,
Leo gave me a protein shake for breakfast.
A bus needs to be refueled in any case, no matter how many passengers it carries. But the number of passengers on different routes or at different times of the day can change dramatically. As a result, some routes are profitable while others lose money. And it also turns out that it's profitable to operate during rush hours, but not at other times and on weekends. So, to continue operating and maintain a positive balance, carriers have to cut corners wherever they can. That usually means only running just enough vehicles to keep them packed full or even abandoning routes that don't bring enough money. Running half-empty buses isn't profitable because the fuel costs are almost the same, but there is way less money coming in from fares.
And that actually makes the network worse overall. It's very important to understand that if you're a person who sees this and is like, yeah, no, we should only have buses on routes that make money. But what do you mean by that? Because the more you expand routes, the more other routes are going to make money because you're connecting more people and more nodes. So there's going to be more total passengers. So should we run the system until it breaks even? Should we run the system just trying to maximize profit? Like, should we have the biggest system we can get while we make no money, or should we try to maximize profit? And if you're talking about maximizing profit, well, why even have that be a public service at all? Why don't we just have the free market do transit completely? Let private shuttle services exist. And what ends up happening is you have a shrinking public transport sector. And so all the economic externalities of having a public transit go away, which causes economic contraction because people cannot get workers from lower cost living areas to higher cost of living areas to work. So that means that businesses have to start charging higher prices because they need higher wages to be able to pay for employees to live in local neighborhoods. And you have all of this shit, all these knock-on effects that end up depressing the economy, making things worse, increasing congestion because people are using private vehicles now because there isn't a good public transit service. So cars take a lot more space than individuals on a bus. I mean, hell, motorcycles take more space than buses do. So even if people are doing just that, it creates all sorts of negative externalities instead of positive externalities that the public transit system makes.
So in the end, this system doesn't really work in the passenger's best interest. Trying to get somewhere on time becomes a gamble. Buses and trams end up overcrowded or just don't show up. Everything becomes uncomfortable, dirty, unreliable, and unpredictable. That kind of service, of course, doesn't attract many people. Anyone who has the option usually ends up switching to a private car, which makes traffic even worse and also marginalizes public transport and makes it lose even more money. Local politicians, meanwhile, love to promote the idea of self-sufficiency and treat any kind of public funding as a sign of failure or poor management. So in the end, when public transport is run this way, it's always just barely surviving and is not appealing to passengers. And there is no way to plan any improvements because there is simply no money for them. And on top of that, a huge problem is that the city basically has no real power over the transport companies because they don't pay them money. Officials can complain and demand better service all day long, but the operators just aren't interested because basically they are trying to survive in a system where cutting costs is the only way.
Hey, look! Neoliberalism! Ukraine! Yay! This is what we're fighting for in Ukraine. Rotten public services, privatization, stripping of labor rights, stripping of heating assistance. This is what our billions of dollars is buying.
To get going. A completely different approach is to finance public transport on the
SEPTA cutting half their services. Democrat mayor, Democrat governor, Democrat state legislature. Vote blue no matter who.
Basis of payment for transportation work, which is also called a public service. In general, this is the wholesale purchase of passenger transportation services with certain routes, timetables, and other conditions at the expense of the local budget. Transportation work is measured in kilometers run by rolling stock with passengers, and each kilometer run by a bus or a tram has a fixed price that should cover all direct and indirect costs of the carrier. In other words, the price of each kilometer should be such that it is profitable for the carrier to operate no matter how many passengers it carries, and so it can maintain its vehicles, pay staff salaries, repay loans, and have the necessary profit margin. Of course, the price per kilometer depends on the type of vehicle. Operating an articulated bus is more expensive than a regular one, and a tram is more expensive than articulated bus. Here it is important to clarify that the said above doesn't mean that a tram is less efficient than a bus. I'm talking about the cost per kilometer of each unit in general, including the cost of infrastructure maintenance. However, if we take into account that a tram is much more capable than a bus and then recalculate per passenger, the numbers will be in its favor. And also, looking at the picture on the scale of the entire route, we will need much more buses than trams to carry these same amount of passengers, which will result in higher overall costs, even though 1 kilometer of one bus operation is cheaper. In simple words, here is how the process usually works. The city announces a public tender and says something like, here is our list of routes, we need this many vehicles on each one running on this schedule. Vehicles should meet these requirements, low floor access, air conditioning, etc., and we are ready to pay this much per kilometer. Then different transportation companies compete with each other and wins the one who offers the needed quality at the lowest price. The key difference here is that operators don't get money from each passenger separately, but instead receive payment from the city based on the number of kilometers they actually run according to the contract. In this setup, fare revenue goes back into the city's budget and it partially compensates the cost of transportation. Of course, this approach needs efficient ticketing system and proper financial management. And by the way, some smaller towns have even made public transport free because the money they were collecting from tickets only covered the cost of running the ticketing system itself.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that hilarious? The fares only cover the cost of collecting the fares. Incredible.
Which made very little sense. Once the contract is signed, the operator needs just to put the right number of vehicles on the streets, follow the schedule, and get paid for the service they provide. And thanks to this model, even the most remote areas can get a reliable, predictable transport connection. Then it becomes the city's job to order the right amount of service and check if the operators are doing what they have to. This model is used in many cities of European Union with well-developed public transport. Since 2007, Regulation number 1370 has defined public transport as a service of general interest, meaning it is planned and funded much like education, healthcare, or road infrastructure, things that don't generate direct
Look at Berlin.
Profit but are essential for quality of life and overall development. An important question.
You know where public transit is best in Berlin? East Berlin.
So is how much of the total cost is covered by ticket sales. In different cities, the share of revenue from tickets and passes usually ranges from 20 to 60%, and the rest is covered by local government budgets or special state funds. For example, Poland has a special fund supporting public transport in rural areas. In different European cities, the fare coverage rate looks like this, and the rest of the costs were paid by the local budgets. At the end of the day, fares and funding are always a result of political compromise between public expectations, budget limitations, and how seriously local leaders take public transport in general. Of course, in the real world, no one has unlimited money, and there always be debates about whether we are spending too much, and some cuts might happen. But no matter what, this kind of system still keeps public transport in a much healthier position than trying to make it pay for itself. And it is also important to remember that trust in public transport takes a long time to build, but it can be ruined in no time. So if budget cuts are needed, they have to be made carefully and thoughtfully. So, in short, if you want to have really...
These people are so brain broken, they don't understand the concept of doing anything in society that isn't about money or profit. What do you mean? We build roads like crazy. Who's making profit from the roads? We have trillions of dollars of roads that we maintain at the cost of billions of dollars that were built and are used for free. Why the fuck is a road, a massive highway, some sort? You think that's cheap? You think it's easy to build a highway? You think roads are easy? Roads are one of the most difficult technologies that we have as a species. You know how much effort it takes to build a modern highway? Do you know how much planning, how much construction effort that takes? How much money? How difficult it is? How many different types of soil? How many different types of moisture environments? How many different types of terrain that we have to do? Do you know how hard that shit is? It's fucking extremely hard. But we just see it as free and inevitable for some reason. Even though it's even more expensive and more difficult than building some fucking railroads.
The effective public transport system, don't try to make it self-sufficient. All around the globe, it often means the same thing: overcrowded, neglected buses and drivers who are rude to passengers and competing with each other for every penny. Or another scenario, ticket prices get so high that no one uses public transport at all. And neither of these options is going to make a city convenient, accessible, or people-friendly. Instead, public transport should be treated as a socially important service that doesn't need to make a profit by itself, but does need stable funding to help a city function properly. And why cities need public transport we've already covered in this video.
Just to make a interchange in California will take $450 million and 10 to 15 years to complete. Unbelievably pathetic. Unbelievably fucking pathetic. You want to see what China's doing, chat? Let me show you what China's doing. They just opened an all-electric freight railway. If the US actually cared about nation building and industrial capacity, we'd be funding and building projects like this. Last week, this Suxi Inland Container Terminal, Yahweh, China opened. Due to strange geography, the terminal needed its 4 double-stack container well car compatible with loading and unloading tracks to be raised and served by custom 42-meter-tall cranes. The terminal uses autonomous container shuttles to bring containers from yards and storage areas to and from the trains. And it's built on the Yangjin Railway, China's second electric traction double stack container railway that has started testing with a pair of push-pull HXD1B electric locomotives and consists of a double stack high cube shipping containers and well cars. So in other words, completely electric freight. Do you see how these are electrified tracks? No carbon emission. We use diesel trucks, diesel trains that are massively polluting. I don't think there's infrastructure this good in the entire United States. And this is a freight line. You want to see American freight lines? This is because in America, we privatize our railroads. So the railroad companies own their own railroads. So they never maintain them because it costs money. So if they could still run their trains on it, they'll let it rot and turn until it breaks fully. This unguarded railroad crossing. Honest to God, this is third world shit. I don't know what else to say. This is undeveloped shit. People think the best thing to do is cut taxes on the rich. And we can't build buses. In that state, trains are amazing, but it's barely working. Do you see how slow they're going? They run slower because, you know, the train will push the track in line. Another 300 billion to Israel. This is pretty close to where the Palestine, Ohio derailment happened. Remember that huge chemical train that exploded and spread poisonous, cancerous shit everywhere during the Biden administration? This is pretty close to Defiance, actually. Very close. Shock of shocks, guys. I don't know if I'd be willing to film that close to those tracks. At points in the video, the train was leaning pretty bad. Thank God, a crossing, 20 feet of straight track. Yeah. Just to clear things up. This is the nationalism of Americans. This is in Ohio. They have to do this fucking cope. They have to do this pathetic cope where, like, when you see what America really is, you have to do this pathetic fucking cope where it's like, no, this is only one state and one place, and this sees little traffic, and you know, the class ones have rails that are in good shape. And, this, fucking embarrassing, dude. You're a fucking loser. And you're why our country sucks. Can't believe they're running this Are You Anti-Semitic playbook. Fucking pathetic.
Right now on Capitol Hill, senators are in the so-called vote-a-rama. They're voting on amendments to President Trump's key policy bill of his second term. A final vote is expected later tonight. At least two Republicans.
Delta Frost. I didn't bring it up for a reason. They're stripping a British pedophile of his citizenship. I'm going to find a better time to bring up the story. It's called Tactics. I'm aware of the story.
Have indicated that they will oppose the bill. But where do things stack up on what's in the bill versus what we've heard from the Trump administration? Also, there was the House version. There's a lot to sift through, so we want to bring in our senior reporter, Daniel Dale, who joins us now for a fact check. Hi, Daniel. So let's start with what the president has said on Medicaid. How does that compare to what's actually in this bill?
Some of the president's recent comments, Pamela, have been wildly categorically inaccurate. Listen, for example, to something he said last week.
We're cutting $1.7 trillion in this bill, and you're not going to feel any of it. And your Medicaid is left alone. It's left the same. Your Medicare and your Social Security are strengthened. We're not cutting.
Whatever the merits of this legislation, and whatever the merits, and you can certainly
1,000 people
this legislation as Republicans have been doing, it objectively does not leave Medicaid the same. It is objective fact that this legislation makes major changes and indeed major cuts to Medicaid. So what kinds of changes are we talking about? Well, one of them that has received a lot of discussion is a work requirement, specifically a requirement that many recipients considered able-bodied who do not have young children prove that they are working or in school or in job training or volunteering 80 plus hours a month. That's not the only big change. The legislation would require for the first time certain Medicaid enrollees to pay out of pocket for certain health services. There would be significant changes to the so-called provider tax that rural hospitals warned could force the closure of some of them or require significant cuts in care. It imposes additional administrative burdens on people and states. So again, good or bad, defend it or not defend it, this is big stuff. And how big? Well, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says we're talking $930 billion cut in federal support for Medicaid over 10 years. That is the biggest Medicaid cut in history, according to many experts. And that would, of course, impact real people. This nonpartisan CBO estimates that we're talking about 11.8 million additional uninsured people in 2034 as a result of this legislation. Not all of it as a result of people losing Medicaid, but many of that 11.8 million would be people now on Medicaid who wouldn't be.
And Daniel, what about the president's promise of no tax on Social Security benefits?
Yeah, so Wolf, the president keeps talking and posting on social media as if this legislation would fulfill his major campaign promise to completely eliminate tax on Social Security. It simply would not. It does not eliminate tax on Social Security. Many seniors would still be paying it. Now, what the legislation does do is provide an additional tax deduction for seniors. It would be a $4,000 additional deduction in the House version, $6,000 additional deduction in the Senate version. That is, of course, something. It is certainly a step toward the president's campaign promise, but no, it does not completely satisfy that no tax on Social Security pledge.
What about what the president said during the campaign, the no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime? And the president has said that passing this bill could also result in a historic tax hike for some. What do we know there?
Yeah, so he keeps using the 68% figure. I want you to listen to something else he said last week.
Well, look, it's a great bill. It's a massive tax cut. If it's not approved, your taxes will go up by 68%. Think of that, 68, a record, the highest in the history. The Democrats won't approve it only because politically it's so good for the Republicans. The Democrats aren't approving it. But think of what they're not approving. They're not approving border security. We've done a great job at the border, but we have to add some wall. We have to do various things. We have no money for that.
This 68% figure is fiction, and it is such fiction that the White House wouldn't even defend it on condition of anonymity when I asked for comment. No defense whatsoever. There is no credible estimate that not passing this legislation would produce a 68% tax hike.
Because he's a fucking liar and lying's OP. And the other thing is Republicans don't care about policy. That's why you can never compromise with them on policy, because they don't give a shit about it. They're there to have fun. There was a clip of Asmongold where he was like, I am the Joker. I'm just voting for maximum fun or whatever the fuck. What a fucking loser that piece of shit is. I'm voting for maximum. I can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see you, man.
Now, the nonpartisan think tank, the Tax Policy Center, did say that there would be an average tax hike of about 7.5% if this bill didn't pass as a result of certain provisions from the 2017 Trump tax law being allowed to expire. And they also said that about 64% of households would face some sort of tax increase if the bill didn't pass. But again, 64% of households getting some tax increase is not synonymous, guys, with a 68% or even 64% tax hike. It's just not the same thing.
Our excellent fact checker, Daniel Dale, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Congress is on the clock right now. Senators have begun debate on President Trump's spending and tax cut bill, the cornerstone of his second-term agenda.
Right now, senators are in what's called a vote-a-rama. This is a marathon series of votes on possible changes, and it's all part of the...
And the Democrats are talking about Zohran Mamdani on MSNBC and try to call him an anti-Semite in the middle of this. If you don't realize the Democratic Party is as big of a problem as the Republican Party right now, and I'm not saying Democrats. If you're a Democrat, or even if you're a liberal, I'm not talking about you. You are not the Democratic Party, even if you've somehow been tricked to believe so in your own mind. I'm talking about Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, all these Zionist scum. They're lying.
Deal making and the arm twisting to win passage later today. And with 2 Republicans expected to vote no, the president will be leaning on his slim majority. We are, of course, following all of the developments with CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes and Arlette Saenz on Capitol Hill. Arlette, voting is now underway. Where do things stand right now?
Well, Pamela, senators have been voting for about 90 minutes in this marathon voting session. It's known as Vote-A-Rama and allows senators to introduce amendments to President Trump's agenda bill up here on Capitol Hill. Now, Democrats are expected to introduce quite a few amendments that could be potentially on politically tough issues for Republicans, but there are also expected to be a number of Republican amendments in order to try to win over some Republicans who might be wavering on this bill. Now, one of those amendments is going to come from Senator Rick Scott of Florida. He has proposed reducing the federal payments to states that had expanded Medicaid under President Obama. There's also Senator Susan Collins, who's expected to introduce an amendment relating to a rural hospital fund. A lot of people will also be paying attention to Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. Senate leadership had initially included two provisions that would have benefited Alaska and Hawaii in the bill over the weekend, but then the Senate parliamentarian ruled that those provisions could not be included. So it's a big question of whether, without those provisions, if she would be a yes on this bill. Now, Senate Republicans can only afford to lose 3 GOP votes on this bill. Over the weekend, 2 Republican senators voted against a procedural hurdle. That was Senator Rand Paul and Senator Tom Tillis, who very quickly then announced that he would not be seeking re-election. Now, earlier today, Senate Majority Leader John Thune was asked whether he is going to have the votes to get this bill across the finish line, and he said, we'll know soon enough. Now, we're just 90 minutes into this Vote-A-Rama. It's expected to extend for many more hours. No one has predicted quite yet if it would end today or possibly the wee hours of the morning, but there's a lot more work for the Senate to do, and then any changes that were made to the bill here in the Senate would still need to make its way over to the House, where it could also face a complicated future if they're hoping to reach that potential July 4th deadline that the president had talked about.
All right, stand by. I want to go to CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes right now. Kristen, how involved is the Trump administration in this morning's debate that's ongoing in the Senate?
Well, if they couldn't be more involved. We know in the walk-up.
I'm going to say it. Donald Trump is a far better president for conservatives than Joe Biden or Barack Obama was for liberals or Democrats. That's just a fact. Both Joe Biden and Barack Obama basically were uninvolved in legislation. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is in there whipping and using the bully pulpit, and he's pushing for the most unpopular shit ever. Say what you will about Donald Trump. He fucking laps the Democrats, and that is disgusting.
To leading up to this moment, that there was really a full court press here at the White House. You had aides, advisors, allies of President Trump's meeting with senators one-on-one. You had President Trump himself calling various senators. As you were mentioning, this is the cornerstone of his second term, but it's also his legacy. He believes, and his team believes, that his entire legacy is wrapped up in this bill, and they must get it to pass. And if you're wondering how closely Donald Trump is watching this, this is what he posted on social media. He said, "For all cost-cutting Republicans, of which I am one, remember you still have to get reelected. Don't go too crazy. We will make it all up times 10 with growth more than ever before." Clearly here signaling two things. One, which we already know because we've heard from President Trump, that if you are willing to go against this bill in too extreme of a way, that he is willing to talk about your reelection and potentially primarying you. But also, the thing about President Trump is that he is always thinking about what plays well with voters. And remember, we've seen this now for several cycles. So he's trying to say if you go too far, you won't be reelected. But there's twofold of that, because he's obviously willing to come out against any Republicans that come out against his bill. And one thing to keep in mind is, because he is so invested in this passing, he is willing to strong arm. He is willing to talk about primaries, and so is his team. They have been, as I said, full court press on this. They want to get it done. They don't think it's moving fast enough, but they understand that there is a process.
All right, Kristen Holmes, Arlette Saenz, thank you both.
A GOP senator has declared his opposition to the bill and announced his retirement. He did so this morning.
What do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there anymore, guys? When the White House managers advising the president are not telling him that the effect of this bill is to break a promise. Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs. Now, those amateurs that are advising him, not Dr. Oz, I'm talking about White House healthcare experts, refuse to tell him that those instructions that were to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse all of a sudden eliminates a government program that's called the provider tax. We owe it to the American people, and I owe it to the people of North Carolina, to withhold my affirmative vote until it's demonstrated to me that we've done our homework. We're going to make sure that we fulfill the promise, and then I can feel good about a bill that I'm willing to vote for. But until that time, I will be withholding my vote.
Right now on Capitol Hill.
And that's that, chat. Senator Thom Tillis from North Carolina has announced his retirement and attacked the bill, and that's that. Thom Tillis denounced GOP mega bill's Medicaid cuts in fiery speech. Hours after announcing his retirement, Republican Senator Thom Tillis went on the Senate floor and slammed the GOP's plan for drastic Medicaid cuts, warning Republicans they are about to make a mistake on health care and betray a promise if their sprawling domestic policy bill passes. I mean, there you have it. There you have it. All right, chat. Listen, I streamed yesterday, and my sister is coming into town, so I need to clean up the place. So I'm going to go ahead, send y'all. Who's even alive right now? I'm gonna send you over to friend of the show, journalist Alyssa Mercante. I spell her name right? Okay, I did not. Who's fighting the good fight. Mike is a filthy anarchist who needs to clean up. Sorry, my kitchen is not dirty because I clean my kitchen. Sorry. Just need to do a couple loads of laundry, things like that. Very normal stuff. Sweep, sweep up. Maybe I'll mop. Touch up the bathroom. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for all the support this month. Stay safe out there. Solidarity forever, my friends. And I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, everybody. Peace out. And I'll see you all soon. Oh, that reminds me, chat. We have a new video. We have a new video in the YouTube. Fuck, I can't get to the link because this thing is so fucking I hate this fucking website. This website is so fucking annoying. Okay, I could get to it. Holy fucking shit. I want you to understand that this is the most significant. This is a video about the Zohran election. Make sure you go check it out. Like, comment, subscribe. If you see one of my videos pop up on your feed or on your recommended, make sure you watch it. All right, everybody, stay safe. Solidarity forever. And of course, free Palestine. I'll see you tomorrow. Here's all my links.